I was just asking more about what you do and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
So for YouTube, the direction I'm going in that is pretty much what I'm doing now. What I kind of been doing it anyways,
Mhm.
in a sense, is basically, just doing some interviews, panels and stuff, and uploading, some concert footage or just interesting things or whatever. And then of course the live feeds for the live catches and whatnot. So that's,
Right.
but the good thing is all my past catches are now re-edited for Rumble. So
Okay.
except for the last one we just did. Hey, John B. Let's see, Midnight Rider, how you doing? But that one should be ready soon. So when I drop the first couple videos, then I'll go live or do a little, pre-recorded video, let everybody know what the Rumble link's going to be, so they can go over there and check it out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Actually, that's it's a really good platform. I signed up like I think a couple of days ago too. They're a little bit lenient, more lenient than YouTube, you know.
Oh yeah, they believe
So
in free
yeah.
speech.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that's awesome because that's what we need, and that's that one thing that we're being censored a lot, you know, and it kind of sucks because nothing gets done that way, you know. Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, I do admire your work. I think it's really important we do get these kind of people off the streets, you
yeah,
know. Yeah, and
yeah,
unfortunately, I can't say like be like yeah I don't like them, and it's like you know it's like
yeah,
those that stain in life, you know. But they need help as well.
yeah.
It's a mental disease, so
I
yeah.
don't. Well, here's the thing: as far as I know, there's no help for him. There's no
Yeah,
cure except for the obvious, jail
of
or
course.
I don't want to say too much. I want to say hi to everybody. Hey, Kat. She's a catcher, by the way. Kat Reed is. Hey,
Hi.
Kat Reed. You see my excuse me, everybody. You see my excuse me, everybody. I don't know. I didn't see it. And then Freya, how's it going? Mikey Mike, how's it going? And then Thaw, how's it going? Um, just sharing. This is actually Baby Love here. If you guys want to, you can wait. If you drop your link, would it go into my chat or just yours with sharing the panel?
um, I'm not sure. Let me go ahead and try to for the
All right.
panel. Right, give me 1 second.
Or you can send it to me through my StreamYard. I can drop your link in my actual chat. In fact, I can do that real quick. Let me do something just real quick.
Okay.
Let me go to my channel and pull it up where I can actually, if I need to type something, I can.
Well,
Yeah,
you can
there it
type it up
is.
on my chat now, or how does that work? Because I don't have that option on my StreamYard. I think
Um,
because I'm
I had
fairly
a
new, probably.
1 second. Let me just see this real quick. I'll have to mute this for a second.
Go ahead.
Okay, there we are. Um, okay, you still there? Can you
Yes.
still hear me? Oh, okay, cool. So what I did is open up a tab and give Kat her wrench back to. I had a catch Thursday and he ran for me, so I went to. Oh, cool. So that was your second one, huh? Need to give Cat. I had to take away almost everybody's wrenches last week or whatever, 3 weeks ago, and I gave most of them back. So,
Cool.
but sorry about that.
So,
I was getting
no,
distracted.
that's okay. So tell me, what is that about, like the wrenches thing? Because you know, I'm telling you, I'm like new, and I'm like, okay, what is the wrench for? Or you know,
Oh,
all
a
that stuff.
moderator.
The
Yeah,
moderator.
they have two of them now. So if you select if you want to mod one of your, some of your people,
Mm-hmm.
what you do is you click to the right of their name, and you can't do it exactly through StreamYard. You have to go on a separate,
It would be through YouTube, right?
yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And what you'll do is you'll point you have your cursor to the right, and there'll be three dots. You just click those, and it gives you the option. Now, a managing moderator is somebody that you super trust because they will
Uh-huh.
have some authority over the moderators, the regular moderators, which is called the
Uh-huh.
standard moderator. So, hey, Bill, Tanya, Kat, Julie, Haystack, how's it going? Um, but yeah, you can do it that way. You want to go through YouTube. You can either pull out your phone or your computer or tablet or whatever, as long as it's a separate. Or if you're on your computer, what I just did is open up another tab.
Another tab. Yeah, correct. Okay.
Yeah, and then what happens is the standard moderators, like just like the regular moderators, they're able to time out people, hide them, ban them. Same thing. They can drop links.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it depends on if people have Nightbot or not. If it's programmed only, moderators can do certain things as far as the Nightbot goes. Then
Mm-hmm.
they can also put the. I use exclamation mark in a word, And then
Okay.
it'll drop whatever I have programmed. But hey, COVIDs, how's it going? Good to see
Hey
you.
everyone.
Yeah, COVIDs. You were in. Sorry, real quick, baby love.
Go ahead.
COVIDs. Were you in Vegas Valley the other night? I think you were when when Joe exposed that dude, that YouTuber. I think COVID was in there. Yeah, he exposed. Oh, there's Michael. Hey, Michael. Um, yeah, Michael, you're probably the last one I'll give him a wrench to for now. You and COVID's. Because I just don't want to give out too many wrenches because I did that before and it just became a show.
Yeah,
So I'm just a little careful. But
that's okay.
anyways, I'm sorry. What were we talking about? I lost my train of thought again. Of course, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Don't worry. We're talking about the work you do, and the
Oh yeah,
reason why, yeah, why I decided to do this with you. Hi, boxing. Is because I'm really interested in why people do or human behavior. People's behavior.
yeah,
Um, and what you do, it's like it intrigued me because, of course, like I said, we gotta get these people off the streets, but not just get them off the streets, but find help for them. It's just like any other criminal out there. There's an underlying issue to why they or reason to why they do the things they do. Um,
yeah. I think that's kind of the mystery question is why they do it. And the only medical answer I've ever heard or received or whatever is something, and maybe somebody in chat could explain it better. Is something about a tissue in the brain. It, it
mhm,
literally it literally is a condition, I guess, from what I understand.
right.
And what I also understand is there is no cure.
Mhm,
So now I know some states did like Tennessee when Pop Squad was there. They got the chemical, castration passed. But
okay.
that only does so much too, though.
Well,
So
yeah. I
it's
mean, it doesn't take away the reasoning or the thought of it being doing it. Like, ugh,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And even if they, actually physically snip them, if you will,
Mhm,
they still got their hands, they still got their
exactly.
brain. They're still gonna do shit.
Right.
It's just it's sad. But I remember when I was in law enforcement, the I believe it was the first person the FBI had called and talked to
Mhm.
my sheriff at the time. They said we have somebody flying in from Belgium to meet
Uh-huh.
a 12-year-old little boy,
Oh my
and
God.
the FBI intercepted at the here in the Albuquerque International Airport and then brought him to the detention center and I booked him into jail. So I think
Mhm.
he was the first person I ever booked in solo because we go to the academy first. They train you on certain things
Mhm.
and then we have on the job training for at least 2 weeks where you're basically just following somebody around who knows what they're doing. Um, so that was, I think, my first or second day where I was solo, done with all the training, and this guy comes in, and
Mhm.
it's like, and and I already learned a little bit before that from the work I was doing before because I worked for a company where we contracted through like U.S. Marshals, BNSF Railroad,
Mhm.
some other federal agencies like FBI, stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
So I was doing that for a couple years, and so I kind of learned the discipline. You kind of have to be desensitized. You basically have to put your feelings away when you
Aside,
go to
yeah, of
work.
course.
Yeah,
Mhm.
you have to.
Well,
You
yeah.
got to.
I would think so. I mean, if it were me, I'd probably be kicking some beats, but like
Yeah,
yeah, I wouldn't deal with it. But yeah.
yeah. So with that being said, I kind of learned how to do that, and all the stuff I've been through in life, and my family has been through in life. It's
Mhm.
just so much stuff. All the family members that have been murdered, my son that passed away. The list goes on and on and on and on. And I kind of learn how to switch that switch, if you will, on and off.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's sad because sometimes somebody will pass in my family, and I'll go to the funeral or whatever it is,
Mhm.
memorial, a wake, a funeral. People have different names,
Right.
and sometimes I simply will not cry. It will be afterwards, like when I'm
Right.
by myself or something. So it's that it's that switch, that you become accustomed to, and I became accustomed to it, and it sucks sometimes. It really does, but it doesn't mean that I don't.
care. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I guess I learned how to control my emotions most of the time, and it was a lot better when I was younger.
Yeah,
But
I think it's just that you're just emotionally strong, and then sometimes you just gotta hold it up for everybody else, you know? And that's
exactly,
what it seems like you're doing. Yeah. Um,
exactly.
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But see, you're over in the West Coast, I believe, right? Where
I mean, Cali, yeah. I'm in
oh,
California.
okay.
Yeah.
We got up to we had a lot of wind today because this time of year we do have the spring winds in the desert,
Mm-hmm.
but we got close to 70. I think we did top out at 70 for just a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then tomorrow it's supposed to be close to possibly some point in the valley. It probably may get to 80 tomorrow.
Okay.
So
It was pretty nice out here today.
yeah,
It wasn't cold, it wasn't hot, it was just perfect. Very moderate.
nice.
Yeah.
Then we're
But
supposed to have a cold spell for 2 days. We're supposed to get wind and rain, and it's supposed to drop down to 50s or low 60s or something. So it's going to be cold for a couple days again.
yeah. I mean, do you prefer the cold weather or the hot weather?
Man, that's hard to choose from because I can't stand the cold, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But when it gets to 110 degrees,
I
even
think
though
I'd
it's
be dead.
mostly,
I
yeah,
can't stand the heat. I cannot. I that's one of my things. It's like I start going deaf. Like when it gets too hot, I can't hear. So I'm like
hmm
really frustrated. So I don't know why, but yeah, it's so funny.
yeah. Thank you, COVID. I know everybody's over at Locksmith, I believe. So that's I think he went. There was like back-to-back panels, and it
Yes.
seemed like there was like two or three live at one time, and I was like, my gosh! And then there was some shit talking, and then I saw that Ryan went live. I went to another live, and I just kind of glanced and saw what was going on. I was like, what the heck? Why are they? I'm not going to mention names, but at least right now I won't. I probably won't. I'm just saying, unless they start something or whatever. But I just don't like the way some people treat the women in our community, especially some that are survivors and are dealing with you know a
Right.
lot of stuff in their life, and to tell them to go f themselves in their face
Oh
just
no,
because
that's
they're
not good.
upset with them about something. That's not me, and I know there's a lot of alcohol involved with some of the panels. I don't drink,
Yeah.
and so I just use my e-cigarette. I don't even eat gummies anymore, to be honest with you. I just use my e-cigarette, and yeah, a little bit of CBD once in a while. And that's about it.
Yeah, but you know, it doesn't even matter if there's alcohol involved. It's a matter of how you conduct yourself, and if you don't have that human decency, it's like, come on, what are
Yep,
you about? You know? Like, come on,
exactly,
not
exactly.
either.
It's just when some people get drunk or tipsy, they tend to do things they wouldn't normally do. That's understandable, but it's not justifiable. It's just like when
Exactly.
we catch a pedo or something, or somebody else that does this full time, they'll catch pedos and they'll always have the excuse, well, I was hacked or my life sucks. And I was going through this and I was like, well, what does that have to do with anything about a 60-year-old, whoever, fill in the blank, trying to go after a 12, 13, whatever, fill in the blank, that there's no excuse for that. So, yeah.
Definitely not.
And of course, they've used the drunk card. They've used the I was high card. The last one we caught admitted on camera he was currently high. And then he
Hmm.
quickly pointed to his bong and said he was just high off of that. We were literally just talking about heroin and meth.
Hmm.
So, yeah, he was pretty tweaky. He was
Yeah.
tweaking.
I mean, there's no doubt that I mean, substance abuse, it does change a person's attitude or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
even you should just to have. I mean, you should be able to still like separate one thing from the other, you know? And it's like you don't like when it comes to children, stay the hell away from them. You know, like
Right.
they're
Right.
innocent. They're innocent. They don't need all that sickness that an adult carries with them. You know. Um.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's no excuse. I don't care like how high anybody is or like whatever trauma
Or
they've been through. Like kids, leave them alone. You know.
exactly.
You know.
Exactly. Kids are innocent. They can't consent. They're children. Leave them
Yes.
alone.
Yes. Definitely. And
All
then
because
what's worse is
oh,
that how they manipulate them, and then sometimes like people like get into their heads and be like, "Oh no, it's okay," or like whatever it is, you know. It's like
yeah.
as an adult, you should know better than that. So yeah, there's
Yep.
no excuse for it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and one thing I've learned too in the last year that I literally, I think it was almost to the day when I got the last catch. It was February 28th, and I think our first catch was also around that day or close to it last year. So I only got 7 in my first year. However, we had several that we'd go to get, and they would, of course, not show up, or they outsmarted us, or or whatever things
Mhm.
happen. So we call them failed catches. So those
Mhm.
happen too. And then we've caught people on panels. In fact, I was just talking about that's on my community page. I went
Mhm.
to Vegas Valley Community, watch group with Joe and them, and they were just starting to talk about this dude. Thumper 88's his screen name. I actually put his stuff up on my last stream. It's
Uh-huh.
on Vegas Valleys as well. But yeah, he's a YouTuber apparently.
Uh-huh.
He's been in a lot of channels and a lot of things. And now what he did happened. There was at least 2 counts of that, and it was in 1990 and again in 94. And at first he was denying it and everything till Joe pulled up all the public records and displayed
Uh-huh.
them. It's like, that's
Wow.
you. And finally he admitted it. And here he was on the internet,
Mhm.
you know, where kids tend to come, on the internet. And I don't. The thing about it is, it doesn't show on the records. I don't believe. I'll have to ask Joe about that. That if
Mhm.
he's on the registry or not, I don't know. Back
Well,
then, things
if he's
were.
he's convicted, they would have to have a record, right? Like be on the registry for that or not?
Yeah, I
Not
would think
presently.
so. But
Yeah.
I believe it happened in Texas. And
Um.
I was actually living in Texas those years. I was there from what was it, 88 to 94 ish, somewhere around that area. And I was living there at the time, and I don't think the laws have virtually changed. The age of consent was 17 then. The age of consent
Mhm.
is 17 still now. There's a Jack and Jill law, which means if a person, like the high schoolers, they're dating each other, one turns 18 all of a sudden, but the other one's maybe a sophomore, and is 16 or whatever. There's
Yes.
the Jack and Jill law, and it's usually anywhere from 2 to 4 years, usually, except for
Mhm.
California. I think they just changed it to a 10-year, which is crazy. That's not good.
No, it's not.
But
Yeah, that's absurd because I know my son, he had his little girlfriend in high school, right? And then he turned
mhm,
18 and she was 16. And oh my
mhm.
God, did her parents make a big old commotion about it. And it's like, you were okay just like a couple months ago, you know? But
Yeah.
the law's the law, you just gotta follow it. And I told him you just have to wait. But
Also, another thing I wanted to mention too, when we can move on after that, is, if you're
um
okay with it, is I noticed with the big catchers that travel all the time and catch almost on a daily, you'll find that some states, that to say the age of consent and state fill in the blank, I don't know which ones, but is
mhm,
16. Well, some of those states apparently don't have a Jack and Jill law. It just means that anybody up to whatever age can,
mhm,
I can't say on the platform here, but they can, it's like, why would anybody over the age of probably 19, 20, I don't know, just fill in the blank.
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
older now. I can't remember everything when I was younger, but why would they have interest in a 16-year-old, even though it may be legal in that state? But there are like men that are, and there's a few women too that have been caught by people,
Yes, I've been
40s,
seeing a lot of that.
50s.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mhm.
30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever. 70. I think the oldest was 80 something. I don't
Wow.
remember. And they're going after children. And some of them, it's not just the 16-year-old, it's the 12 or the 11 or the 9.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But yeah,
It,
we
you
can't
know,
really talk about it too much on this platform anymore, unfortunately. So I got to
yeah.
be careful.
But I've seen, what, even worse, like school teachers, people we put in positions to
Yeah,
supervise our children, and that really gets me. Like, wow.
exactly. Hey, Nat, going bananas, and Steve, Dave. Good to see you
Hello,
guys in
everyone.
here. Hi, Nat. I was on Nat's panel actually, or no, I wasn't on your panel. I was in your room a couple nights ago, her channel.
Hmm.
But yeah, good to see you, Nat. Um, but yeah, she's also a catcher, by the way. So Nat going
Uh-huh.
bananas on Preds. She's a catcher
Yeah.
too.
Good
So
job.
she's near the New York area, New Jersey area. So
Hmm. That's
But
awesome. That's great work you guys do. Like, I definitely admire it. You know,
yeah,
it's awesome.
it's hard work. It's not easy at all. People think it's easy that don't do it. Some people do. The
Uh huh.
decoy is where the work really is. Well,
Hmm.
most of the time it's the decoy because it takes a major mental strain on you.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, yes, you start to get desensitized a little bit to it, and you got to, you know, I had to take a break for months
Uh
for a
huh.
couple of reasons: health, car, glasses, and that. I just needed
Hmm.
to take a break from it. And then the last one, I did not decoy. That was decoyed by another catcher who he's on the road truck driver. So he just happened to be decoying across the country. He had somebody here, and he asked me if I could, you know, go get the person. And thankfully we had people here. We had somebody that did some recon. We got almost, and that's one thing I've learned to do is to get more information on these people before we go catch them instead
Hmm.
of just, oh, let's go now. No, no, no. Don't worry about going not, going now. Unless it's something where they're admitting that they're actually with a real live,
Hmm.
person, a little person, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit different. In some cases, you just call the police. Forget about the
Right.
camera and the catch. You just call the police. But
Yeah.
if we can
I would
get,
think so.
yeah, but if we
Hmm.
can get as much information as possible, because we get runners. I've had two that just ran. Our first one and our sixth one just ran. We didn't the sixth one, we barely even got his face. We got maybe three-quarters of his face.
Hmm.
But we know it's
Yeah.
him. But at least by gathering intel first, if they do run, we know where they live. We know where they work usually. Stuff like that. So
Hmm.
we can go. You know, do the interview there. I'll just, or we can just take it to the police. So
Right. I don't. You're so patient with them. I like that last stream that you had, or the one I saw how patient you were with them, and it's um like you said, you have to learn how to conduct yourself in certain manners, you know. And it's like um I don't know how you do it. I just don't know how you do it, you know.
well,
But
I will say the last one I did raise my voice a couple times. I think it's the first time I ever did on a catch like that
hmm.
because he told us, and that's almost ready to be premiered on Rumble. You can also watch it on Predcatcher OTR. He has the live feed trimmed down to like an hour and 45 as opposed to 3.5 hours or whatever it was.
Hmm.
But yeah, he admitted to having, I have to use the initials, but you can figure it out. He had CP on his phone.
Yeah.
Um, and so I asked him. I didn't just snatch it, even though I technically legally I could, but it was inside his place.
Hmm.
But I said, "Can you turn it off?" We had cameras on. He did. Where I can't
Hmm.
access it, obviously, you have to have a fingerprint, password, whatever they do.
Right.
Mine's a fingerprint and password. And I said, he did it on camera. I said, may I see it? He handed it to me. And I
Hmm.
dropped it in my back pocket. And I said, it's mine for now. And that's when he got pissed off and he lunged at me.
Hmm.
so,
Yeah, I seen that.
so I basically just used my voice, just raised my voice and told him to sit down and shut up, basically. And he did.
Uh-huh.
So, but
He,
yeah, I
he
mean,
wasn't he wasn't that old, was he? He was kind of young, like on like early 20s maybe.
yeah, he was 20. I don't want to say the wrong age. I believe 23 or
Hmm.
24, going after a girl that just literally turned 13. So she was just 12 a couple of weeks before he was getting nasty with her. So, and
Yeah.
apparently he's, well, I don't know if I should say anything, but apparently, yeah, I won't say anything. I don't want to ruin anything because some of these people get caught more than once, if you know what I mean. They
Yeah.
don't learn. They don't learn their lesson, whether it's jail or not. Uh, some of them go to jail. They get a slap on the wrist. They may go in for a couple of days, couple of months, whatever it is, and then get
Really.
let out. Yeah, it's like a slap on the wrist, and they go. A lot of them just go right back to doing it. Some of them that are still waiting to go to for trial or whatever, they still
Hmm.
can do it. It's crazy. It's mind boggling. It really is. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see. You can see the chat track because Nat said, "Baby love, this is my channel."
Yeah, I got her channel already. Yeah,
If you
definitely.
could send me your channel link through StreamYard, that would be great, so I can post it as all my chat. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, let me go ahead and pull it out.
All right.
Yeah, right here in California, that's like that's one of them things that is just not tolerated at all. But it is
Mhm.
when it comes to child abuse or like child pedophilia, anything like that. Um, I think it gets handled really quickly in jail.
Yeah,
Which is cool, and I mean, but it has to be done. And all that slapping in the wrist thing it just does not fly. At all. Um,
exactly.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
I'm not breaking up in my because my computer's just being ridiculous.
No, no, you sound good. You sound perfect.
All right. I'm going to get a new one. I was thinking about getting one today. I went and looked at a few a couple days ago, and
Hmm.
there's one that's pretty affordable that I can get. The only problem is it only has 128 gigs of space.
Oh, okay.
So, but everything else on it's good. I would have to buy an external, which I'm going to do anyways. External hard drive for extra storage and whatnot. What's up, Bill? Oh, thank you, Bill. Oh, he dropped your link. How'd you find it?
Yeah,
Awesome.
he
Thanks,
he did
Bill.
that. Thank you, Bill.
Awesome. He's cool. That's so cool. I appreciate that. Yeah, I tried to. I can't really find your channel unless you go live.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
So,
tried looking for my pages as well, and it's like I have to like really go into like YouTube stream or like studio to find it. So
mhm.
it's like
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I have to change my
It's
what do you
not
call it?
that.
No.
It's not that. It's just you're once you start getting more subs and going live more often, it kind of puts you in the algorithm.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah. I think the see you're over 100, but your next big goal technically, and I know from experience because I
Hmm.
got the little electronic certificate from YouTube. But when you get to 300, they actually send you a little certificate via email, and it actually tells you a few
Hmm.
things. And then 500 is another milestone. I think the next one is 700 or 800, and then of course there's the 1K, and then but the more you go live and the more subs you get, I think is how the algorithm starts picking you up more, and it's easier to find. But there's a friend of mine, he's got over 2,000 subs and he goes
Hmm.
live almost every day, and he's pretty well known. And if I was to put him in the community page and put say Devil Dog, that's his name,
Hmm.
that's his screen name, it doesn't come up, which is weird. And he can't figure out why either. And I think it might be something to do with his YouTube studios where he needs to go in there and actually check it. That's just my opinion, where he might have something because you can actually select where nobody can clip your videos, or of course people can still record them. I'm sure. I'm just saying, as far as clipping goes, you can turn that where nobody can clip them. You can also adjust it where copyrights, license, all kinds of
Hmm.
stuff. And I think it's through StreamYards.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
you can do different things too. So I have a feeling that maybe he needs to go in and check. He might come in here a little bit too and check maybe his YouTube studios or his StreamYard to see if there's some kind of option or like a toolbar or something where he can fix it where people can put his handle in somewhere and it would show up as opposed to putting the whole youtube.com/at.
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think it's something to do with the YouTube studios or something like that. So
Yeah, that's what I thought though. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm barely getting like the analytic. I think it is like oh who's watching and all that stuff, and I'm like oh that's pretty cool, because I like when I started, I it wasn't so much because I wanted to get like monetized or anything. I was just like I'm gonna do it for fun.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I'm getting used to everything, so it's like so far so good. Um,
yeah,
except for all the drama, yeah, that kind of drained me for like last week. I was just like oh my god, I'm done, you know,
yeah. I
and it's
could
like
tell. I could tell
yeah.
you were just by what you typed. I was like, yeah, okay, it's all good. Don't worry, it's all good. And then you had that little music stream. I came in there, and I actually enjoyed that. By the way, you were
Thank
playing
you.
some good stuff. Old classic Metallica to whatever. It was
Yeah.
all good. It was
It's
all
a
good.
variety, yeah.
Hey, what's up, GLM? Gabriella, how's it
Hello.
going? Good to see you. I haven't been over your way in a little while. I need to get over your way. It seems like every time you go live, I just simply can't. I'm completely unavailable half the time. But I lurk sometimes, or I'll type a few things, let you know I'm there. But I'll get over and visit you soon. I promise.
Mhm.
Good to see you. Sabby's here too. Hello, Sabby. Steve, how's it going? I think I already said hi to Steve. I'm not sure, but yeah, the more
Yeah,
you,
you have very good followers, are like very supportive, which is awesome.
it depends. It
Yeah.
really. I'm just being honest with you. It just depends. I mean, yeah, the ones that I believe, of course, you can't read everybody's mind, but
Hmm.
I had to unmod so many people because of just stupidity, ignorance,
Right.
whatever it was of going on in the community, of people arguing and fighting and this and that, and accusing this and that and the third, or somebody's actually doing something or whatever.
Hmm.
So I yeah, it's sometimes, and then of course there's those people that will always be there for you unless you really do something bad, like that's
Right.
understandable. So it's off and on, it really is. But there's a lot of support in general, yeah, in the community as far, especially when it comes to catching. We put everything aside, I think, for the most part when
Hmm.
it comes to catching, because yeah, they're the scumbags. They're
Yeah.
the ones that we need to be mad at, and they're the ones that we need to make famous.
Yeah,
Get
definitely.
exposure. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but there's people that literally dislike each other in real life, like they. But when it comes to catching, they'll work together great. But once
Yeah.
that catch is over with, and the cops are gone, and so on and so forth, it's back to disliking each other. I see that happening too.
That's crazy. I
But
mean, but
it's
it
life.
happens. Yeah,
Oh
it
yeah.
happens. That's
Hmm.
cool.
But thanks, Gabrielle. I just call her GOM. That was actually her screen name for a while when I met her, so I'm still used to GOM, so I just still call her GOM. but,
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
but
I'm looking at the chat and it's like, oh yeah, like you've been on here for a while, right, Jeff?
you mean on YouTube
Yeah, on
in
YouTube, yeah.
general? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I started in 2020 because I was bored. We
Mm-hmm.
got yeah, everything
During
shut
COVID.
down. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
everything got shut down, and the person I'll be interviewing, I don't want to bug him too much, but he
Mm-hmm.
keeps saying yes. I'm like, okay, can I set it up? Can I set up the date? Like set
Mm-hmm.
up the link, the stream, if you will. And he says, oh, I'll get back to you, which is understandable. He's going through a lot. It's tour season again.
Mm-hmm.
So, but he's the one that helped me, uh, actually helped me. And we basically started almost at the same time. I think he started maybe a month or two before I did.
Uh-huh.
But he's a rock star. He's got more pull, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what's funny is interesting is he actually got striked from his own music that's on the radio. Obviously he's got a
Really?
record contract, and he said he was really really pissed at first, and he realized, wait a minute, okay, let me just let them know who I am. He appealed it, and they were like, oh yeah, they apologized immediately. He's like, that's my music, that's my CD.
That's funny.
I don't want to tell too much because he's going to talk about a lot of that when he comes on, when I get to interview him. So, but that's just kind of an idea. And then I started watching like cop watchers. As far as like, I didn't know there was communities. I knew there was pockets and genres on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that the word community even existed. But I was watching a little, whenever I could, First Amendment auditors, and then they
Oh
started getting
yes.
kind of, yeah, a lot of infighting. Actually, I don't know which community is worse, that one or some other ones, but they get nasty with each other. I mean, it's just bad. And I found earlier I had found the pred catching community when it was just Pop Squad and Justin Payne, Anxiety War, and all them. And
Mm-hmm.
then eventually I found Alex and Jay, and the list goes on. And then finally, the end of 2021, or was it? Yeah, end of 2021,
Mm-hmm.
I came up on a panel for the first time. Yeah, it was Locksmiths. And I said, yeah, I want to become a catcher. I just don't know
Yeah.
exactly what to do type thing. I was in law enforcement thinking I would know it all.
Uh-huh.
Of course, decoying is something most people in law enforcement do not learn.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and then also simply being a civilian, you can't just go up and cuff them, So I
Mhm.
can't just reach back and get my cuffs out. I'm a civilian. So
Yeah.
there's
Do
that.
they, do they have citizens arrest in where you're at or no?
Well, we're supposed to. But the UK catchers, they can actually physically detain them. They can
Mm,
do a citizen's arrest when the cops come up. I don't think I've seen a single time on any of the ones that I've watched where they caught somebody and the cops just simply walk right up and arrest them right there. Nothing's said except for they hand over the chat logs or whatever it is and they go to jail. It's that simple. Here it's like, man, are the cops going to arrest or do we have to wait a year? Or is the DA going to, you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. But then
mm,
you also have to look back at the chat logs and how the decoying was going and how the catch in general went because yeah, we all make mistakes. We mess up sometimes, and some people mess up more than others and continue to mess up. Uh, it's so important because defending, lawyer, defense attorney can take just about anything and say, well, because of this, you have to throw the case, and that does happen. You know,
mm-hmm.
it
A
could be something.
technicality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. So it's a lot that goes into it. So at first, it's like, yeah, I wanted to do it. And I said from the very beginning, I want to make sure my ducks are in a row. And it took me from my first announcement that I was going to start catching, it took me about almost or close to 3 months, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
before I even got the first catch. And he ran. So, I
Mm,
mean, but at least we got his face. He actually
yeah.
walked first. He talked for maybe 2 or 3 seconds. He answered like the first question or maybe two, and then he started walking away. And
Mm-hmm.
then outside of a Target, and this was in Albuquerque, uh, he just stood there. I'm like, oh, this is great. We're going to get the interview.
Mm-hmm.
And then he saw the cameras and everything, and he freaked out and ran. Then he started
Right.
running. But we got his license plate and everything. Got all. But
He's
here's the
probably
thing.
scared of the exposure, probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure. But see, that was our first catch, and I didn't have a lot of the information that we would say get now, like
Uh,
where they work, their real phone number, or we had his real phone number, I believe, but we knew he came from Texas. He's from here. I mean, he lives here, or I don't know if he still does, but you know what I mean. He lived here, but he had moved here recently from Texas.
uh,
So we knew his name and stuff like that, and we had the chat logs. Obviously, we had his license plate, his vehicle information. But now we just take our time. If it means taking an extra week or 2 weeks to gather intel, that's what we're going to do. Because if they do run, well, we can say no big deal. We know where they live. We know where they're at.
mm,
And if we could just get their face on camera or their light, proving they showed up for the meet, we don't necessarily have to do anything. We just go straight to the cop. Say, here it is. Here's the video. Here's the chat logs. Here's this and here's that. I want to read
right.
Nat's question if I could.
Go
So
ahead.
my donut weirdo catch. The cops cuffed the guy. No questions asked. Oh, what number catch was that, Nat? The donut weirdo catch. I think I remember seeing that. Was that in New Jersey? See what y'all think of me going to the woods right now solo with a Ouija board. No record, scaring myself per se. I personally wouldn't do that, but that's up to you. Uh,
Yeah, I don't mess with that. That's some scary stuff right there.
right? I did when I was a
Yes.
teenager. Me and my friends did, and literally some shit really did happen. And I'll tell you about it in private because when I sat here, I want receipts. Well, one of them's deceased from a heroin overdose, and he's in heaven. So I can't just produce him, but he was
Right.
one of them that we did the Ouija board. And unfortunately, some of the things that it said happened, like came to pass, and we never touched one since. At least
Yeah.
I haven't, anyways. I just refuse to even have one in the house.
Hmm.
And like if, or same with my grandkids, same with our kids, we raised them. There was no Ouija board.
Yeah.
you
No, we
know,
we weren't allowed to play with those when we were growing up. It's like
yeah,
my mom's like, no, no, no. I remember my sister and her friends. They were messing around with one at one time, and
yeah,
like for a week, I remember they were going crazy. Like I don't know,
exactly.
it's just them just making stories up or whatever. But they're like, oh, we have to burn it. They made a big old commotion about it, and it's like my mom's like, I don't want you bringing that in here. Like all that, that's all bad energy you bring into your home, and it's like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, there's some
some things.
people I know that are not even believers. They're just atheists or whatever, and
Mhm.
they won't even touch the Ouija board because of a bad experience they had. you
Exactly.
know, and
Hmm.
they still don't even believe in like demons or whatnot, but they do know something happened, and it scared them enough not to touch it again. you know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and I don't mess with that stuff. You heard about what Santa Muerte, that saint that a lot of people pray to.
yep.
That's another topic that like I remember me and my friend were just talking about this maybe a couple of weeks ago, and
hmm
she's like, you know what, I am not a believer of it, but I do believe that like, I mean, there's something behind it, and it's like, yeah, definitely, and it's like it's not that I'm a believer either. It's just like there's some things that are kind of taboo. You just don't mess with it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
It's like one thing. It's like superstitious stuff. I wasn't
Hmm.
really that superstitious, but I had some friends that were, and when I moved to Dallas, um, I partied like an animal. That's where I grew up. I'm just being honest. I was a
Hmm.
bad person. I wasn't horrible. I didn't, I was just a bad person mainly to myself. What I
Hmm.
was putting in my body, alcohol or whatever, fill in the
Right.
blank, all the
Yeah.
blanks. And we were just out raising hell and doing what we did as teenagers growing up, you know.
Right. Hmm.
But some of my friends, if a black cat crossed the street, they would stop
Hmm.
and find another route to go where we were going. It's
Right.
like, seriously, dude, seriously? Are you that,
Yeah. No, I hear you. I'm like that too. Actually, I'm like that with crows. Um,
yep.
for a minute, I thought I was losing my mind. Honestly, Jeff, it's like I would walk out of my house and there'd be a crow right in front of my door, and I'm like, okay, that's weird. And then
Yeah.
I would notice I'm driving and they're following. Like a crow would literally fly over my car, and I'm like, okay, now I'm just tripping now. So
hmm
then wherever I would arrive, there'd be another crow, and I'm like, okay, now this is way too much.
Yeah.
Like witchcraft. Or I don't know what it was. But I mean, it got to the point where I even tattooed a crow on my no, a raven actually on my wrist, just to be
hmm
like, okay, so they're gonna follow me. I'm gonna I'm gonna take them with me, whatever it is. But
hmm
it's actually not. I used to think it was a bad omen. It really isn't a bad omen, like with the crows. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm like,
I grew
okay,
up,
that's cool.
I mostly lived in Plano, Texas.
Hmm.
We started out in Richardson because my dad at the time he went back to college in his late 30s,
Uh-huh.
and before that he worked for Hormel, and they had the big strike of 80 whatever it was, 86, 87, somewhere in that area,
Hmm.
and so I think he was 37 if I'm not mistaken when him and my uncle both went back. No, my uncle and my second cousin went back to college at the same time, and they were very close to the same age, around that age area.
Hmm.
And they all, well, I shouldn't say all, my father and my uncle graduated the top of their class, the top of the college, everything. So later on they got an alumnus award, but
Hmm.
because of that, my dad got so many job offers from NASA, from other places, and his goal was Intel, and which he eventually retired from.
Hmm.
But he started out with Texas Instruments in Richardson, Texas, which is Dallas Fort Worth.
That's
And
cool.
so we lived in Richardson for just a short while until we found a house in Plano, and
Hmm.
uh, that's where I went to school. And then I moved out in Texas. I think it's still the same. When you're 17,
Hmm.
you're it's almost it's strange. Maybe somebody here that can answer that, but I just remember in Texas anyway, 17 you're an adult,
Uh-huh.
but you're not completely an adult. It's so hard and confusing. So yes, you can move out on your own. At least then we could,
Hmm.
but and there are certain things we could do that we couldn't do before the age of 17. Like but we were pretty independent.
Right.
But so that was kind of the plan. Is at 17 I was going to be gone. So,
Yeah.
but I realized with everything with working at Taco Bell, I think it was, or wherever I was working at that time, back in my teen years, it just wasn't that much money. But so finally, I was maybe a month or two after my 18th birthday, or right before that, or something. And two of my buddies says, "Hey, we got a house down in Lower Greenville." I'm like, "Oh, that's where I got my tattoos. That's where the clubs are." I was like, "Wait a minute, That's the ghetto. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm in. I was like, I'm in for a challenge. So
Mhm.
yeah, I didn't know that two of the people that I moved in with were big snow addicts. We'll put it that way. The white powder
Okay.
stuff, and
Uh-huh.
they were also, apparently they were allegedly selling it because I came home and there was like 8 balls all around the house, and I'm like,
Uh-huh.
no, yeah, I've
You're
gotten
like, what
some
did I
things
get
in
myself
my life.
into?
Yeah, and that wasn't the first time. Another roommate pulled a slick one on me too. It was a different story, but it was just pounds of which now is legal here, but pounds of
Mhm.
Mother Nature's lettuce. Back then it was terribly illegal. Obviously, they thought it was the worst. It's so bad. Oh my gosh! But yeah, I've been through situations where some people just didn't want to grow up that fast, and some did, some didn't. And I had to just bail. I didn't
Mhm.
want to be a part. It's one thing to partake of something on occasion. It's a different thing when they're trying to cross that line, where they're getting
Right.
large quantities of it and stuff. Like, I want nothing to do with this. I left immediately.
Right.
And
And that's a smart thing to do.
yeah. And shortly after that, I moved to Minneapolis. Lived there for almost 2 years, even though I did move back to Dallas for a short time. I went back to work at Texas Tool Traders in McKinney, Texas.
Mhm.
Is it McKinney or McKinley? No, McKinney, Texas, north of Plano, about a half-hour drive.
Mhm.
And my friend's dad at the time, he owned it, the business, when we were living there. And around that time, he had stepped away from ownership and became like a partner or the top manager or something.
Mhm.
And he hired me, and I don't know, things were just different. And then my friend's mom tried to hit on me. It's like, what? I mean, it was crazy. I'm barely 18,
Uh-huh.
and this lady who I used to call mom when I was 12.
Mhm. Wow.
That's just what we did as
You know,
kids. Is we called each other's
I've
parents mom or dad or Mr. or
yeah.
Mrs. And but I
Well,
I
my
stayed.
my son's kids call me mom. I mean, they're my son's friends. They will be like, "Hey, mom," or whatever, But because they grew up with my kids and they were in my home as well. So that
Yeah,
was really common. Mhm.
yeah. Hey, Steve, I'll answer that in just one second. But what I wanted to say is, there was a couple times where, like, my friend's dad, that's Texas Tool Traders, where he's like, "Hey, you want a carpool tomorrow?" And
Mhm.
I was living in North Dallas. Me and my we're still friends to this day, but he's another one. I came home and every drawer, every cabinet I opened, bags were falling out, like of
Mhm.
Mary Jane, just everywhere, all around the apartment, just
Right.
pounds. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, this is like a dream come true. I feel like I'm in heaven, but on the other hand, no, I don't want a part of whatever they're doing. I can tell what they were doing
Uh,
again. And I
yes.
bailed. I bailed. And I went over to my buddy's house and I was like, this is kind of a last straw until I can, because I secured that place. And my friend, he said, hey man, you want a room, help with the rent? I was like, sure. And I
Uh,
just, I just left and I gave him a check, money order, whatever it was, for
uh-huh.
like 2 months. And then I bailed, went to my friend's house, and I think it was the second morning.
Mhm.
I think it was on a Saturday because I didn't have to work, but his dad did, and so did he. So I'm
Uh-huh.
on the couch. I'm sleeping on the couch in the living room, and
Uh-huh.
his mom, who, like I said, we used to call each other's parents Mr. and Mrs. and their last name, or mom or dad. That's just,
Mhm.
my kids do that with their friends' parents as well. It's just a respectful thing.
Right.
And here's a person that I've known since I was about 12 years old. I used to call mom, hi mom, or hi Mrs. fill in the blank. And here she comes out with nothing on but a little robe, lingerie thing, swinging her freaking the thing that ties it. And
Mhm.
I'm like, it was pretty obvious what she wanted to do. And I was about sick to my stomach. No offense. It's just,
Uh-huh.
I was like, I stretching, and yawning and playing the little part. I was like, you know what? I think I have to go in today anyways. And she would say, well, I'll say a first name. I'll just make up one. She would say something
Uh-huh.
like, well, Tom doesn't need you in today. I'm like, oh, Oh, but not that one. No, it's another job that I got for the day. It's just a labor job, a day labor job. I would make up
Uh,
whatever I could. So after about 3 months of dealing with all this stuff and trying to get established at 18, 19, whatever, that age again back in Dallas, then I find out my mother had a tumor,
mm,
very, very large one, by the way, in her
I'm
stomach.
sorry.
And
Wow.
my dad, I'd gotten a call. My dad was still working nights
Hmm.
uh, up there, and came home, and she almost died. She almost bled to death. She had internal bleeding,
Right.
and
Oh gosh.
and so yeah, we went up there. She had surgery, and thank God it was not cancerous. It was benign. So
Right.
they were able to remove it. So I went back up there, obviously, for that, and we stayed up there for I think 8 days, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
And then about a week or two after I got back to Dallas, I just gave up. I was like, it's over with. It's just we had a hailstorm that just destroyed my car.
Hmm.
Uh, the frame of the car, if you will.
Right.
I had a Ford Probe, which they don't sell anymore. It was a sports car, and I had a 92 Ford Ranger, black for yeah, 92 Ford Ranger.
Hmm.
So, a long story short, the only vehicle I had coming back was my Ford Ranger, and it wasn't the greatest condition. Let's just put it that way.
Hmm.
And I was sitting here almost like laughing about it because driving that far, I'm literally driving from near Canada to near the Gulf of Mexico, within a couple hours, Minneapolis is about what, 4 hours to Canada, 3.5 hours or something like that. And then from Dallas to, Galveston's about 3 hours. Then it's shorter now because the speed limits, changed. But it's I think I want to say it was like a 16 to 18 hour drive, and I would just drive it straight through if I could. I usually did, unless there was a tornado or something, and
Hmm.
something got in the way. Like in Joplin, Missouri, or something. That's kind of like a halfway point, I guess,
Uh-huh.
and I would stay the night there. But going back by myself, I was thinking to myself, I was really low on funds. My tires were getting bald. I lost my car. It was just all kind. My car was damaged. I got it later on. It
Uh-huh.
ended up falling apart a year after I got it back. But it
Those
was
are all
just
like
down there. I
all
just had to
red flags. Like go back home. Type.
exactly. Hey,
Yeah.
what's up, Brett? How you doing, Brett? Good to see you, Brett. You might see him around the community. I think he's been in Andy's room a few times, and of course Russ's room
Hmm.
and B Socks and whatnot. But he's
Hmm.
he's like I literally can go almost anywhere on the YouTube and we'll find each other. Brett's
That's cool. That's
Brett's cool,
awesome.
dude.
Mhm.
But yeah, I answer your question, Steve. I-35. I learned to drive in Dallas, and it was LBJ Freeway was my interstate, aka freeway, driving test. Scared the living crap out of me, to be honest with you. When I was 14, 13 or 14 is when I went to driver school. But I-35, um, I didn't use that too often in Minneapolis, or I mean in Dallas Fort Worth, because I used Central Expressway coming from Plano. But in Minnesota, I literally lived right off of I-35 east and was it east and west or north and south? East and west, because one part of it went to St. Paul, the other went to Minneapolis. There was like 435 or something. They add another number for a loop around, so I could stay on 35 and go east or west, or take the loop, whatever it's called, and go around St. Paul and whatnot. But yeah, so I probably used I-35 a lot more in Minneapolis, and it sucked up there because they only, at least then, I think they still do. There's only 2 lanes in this city there on the freeways on each side. There's not 5 like there is here. Even in Albuquerque, we have 4 or 5, on each side of the freeway. Not in Minneapolis. They only had 2. So sometimes I'd get off work at Laser Master in Eden Prairie, which is literally just a couple miles from downtown, Minneapolis, and I would drive to the suburbs. And if it was a good day, I could get home in sometimes as early as 20 minutes, just cruising, Some days, especially if it snowed in the wintertime, which it snowed all the time, almost like 9 months out of the year, if not 10.
Wow.
Um, my cousin and I did carpool a lot because we were both working there. But there were some nights it took 3.5 hours just to get home from work because of the traffic and the snow. or black ice.
That black ice
So,
is dangerous. Um,
oh yeah.
yeah, so I'm trying to get into driving trucks, like semi trucks. And
Yep.
that's one of the lessons that we have. It's like, oh, be careful for black ice. And it's like I didn't really know what it was until like recently. Because we moved up to high desert. And
Hmm.
on the way down, the weather was so bad, like I couldn't see like in front of me, like with the fog and
Yeah.
everything. It was so scary and dangerous, right? And then I didn't see the car in front of me. It kind of skidded. And I was like, it's not even wet, but I did see like a big old like it just looked weird, like it looked shiny or whatever it was. And I'm like,
Hmm.
dude, that has to be that black ice. So I was so
Yeah.
terrified. I was terrified because it's on the way down. It's like you literally see the city um under us. And it's like if I fall off
Yeah.
this cliff, I'm done. I'm not. It's over for me. But yeah, I don't like driving in bad weather at all.
The worst experience that I ever had with black ice. In fact, everybody in that area I'm about to explain said it was the first time it's happened to them too. So I think it was 2015. My cousin and I were roommates.
Uh-huh.
I was just going through a divorce. Blah blah blah. He had just left the Florida Georgia area. I'll leave it at that. He had a fiance there that he just went his way. She went her way. Whatever. It is what
Uh-huh.
it is. So we just said screw it. Let's just get an apartment for now and just work. We had our job to do, and we just basically all we did was just work, sleep, work, sleep. It was just monotonous. They kept raising their rent, everything. Well, his older brother, which is my cousin as well, obviously passed away, and up north, and that was right. I think it was like 2 or 3 days before Christmas. So we left here, and we decided. Yeah, we didn't even stop. I don't think this time we drove straight from here to there, and that's a long drive. That's a very
Uh-huh.
long drive, but we did it, and we noticed we were thinking like, oh, the weather's going to get so cold. It's
Mhm.
wintertime. We're going up north. It's already chilly here or high desert. It was like maybe
Mhm.
the highs were maybe 60 degrees, but the lows were already dipping down in the upper
Wow.
30, mid to upper 30s. So it was
Mhm.
already getting chilly here, but there I would expect below zero or close to it at that time of
Mhm.
year. The weather didn't change that much. It just got more humid,
Uh-huh.
and it was kind of funny. We got into Missouri and Iowa and whatnot, and the grass was still green. There was a lot of flooding going on, and a lot of rain and moisture, and it
Mhm.
wasn't even that cold. In fact, it probably felt a little warmer than here because it had humidity.
Right.
So it was like 55 degrees there, not much difference in here, but it was humid.
Mhm.
And we're like, well, at least we don't have to worry about snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the
I
day of the
went from
funeral,
oh shoot.
it snowed. But go ahead.
No, I went to I recently, well, this not recently, but like last May. Um I decided to take a road trip with one of my friends. We're gonna go pick up a tow truck from Virginia.
Hmm.
I had never been there, so we flew over there and then we drove back, right? I
Yeah.
was I was like so like mesmerized. First of all, Virginia is a beautiful state. Like I that hands on, it's like so beautiful. But passing Tennessee, it was just raining and raining and raining and raining. And it's like, oh my God, when is it gonna end? Um
Yeah.
and then like all the mid western cities or whatever, really nice. Like I had never been out of California,
Hmm.
but the weather wasn't like as bad as I thought it would be.
It
But yeah.
depends. It's like right now, I got a friend in Tennessee, and she's already been through 2 tornadoes
Yeah. Well, I
in
don't
like
know. This
one
year,
week.
I think we're having a lot of weather issues, right? I think
Yeah, big
everywhere.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't have like you probably heard the song. It's a country music song. I don't remember who sings it. 'Cause I don't listen to a lot of country, but it says something about in Albuquerque waiting out a blizzard. I was like, a blizzard, Albuquerque?
Albuquerque, I
Oh,
know, right?
it does happen. It's it's
Yeah.
it's weird and it's rare, but we usually get like at least a flurry, a
Uh-huh.
winter, maybe two. Especially it depends where you're living. Like if you're in the lowest part of the valley, you probably won't see much of anything. But it wasn't that long ago, and I was going to try doing my first short video because I still trying to learn the shorts. And I woke up to snow. I mean, like 6 inches of snow on the ground, and I
Mhm.
was like, well, and this was just like 3 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. It wasn't that long ago. And yeah, so it does happen. Of course, it was melted by the end of the day, but it does happen. But the black ice happened. Here's what happened. So we're coming back. A blizzard hit where we were at the day of my cousin's funeral. Virtually, there's a lot of people that just couldn't show up. People that had to drive in from other states or long ways away. A lot of people just simply couldn't show up. The roads were just, they were not graded, nothing. They were not plowed, whatever, salted, sanded. They were not anything. It was just horrible driving conditions. And so, anyways, we came back the day, I want to say it wasn't the day after Christmas. I want to say maybe the 28th, 29th. When we started driving back, December 28th, 29th, somewhere around there. And of course, winter had officially hit, the Midwest, everywhere pretty much. And we got down to Kansas, Wichita. And I think that's when, I started driving in southern Iowa. And then I drove all the way to Wichita, Kansas. And then we got out at a gas station, filled up, and we switched drivers. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We didn't switch. I said we were going to. I said, you know what? I'm going to keep going. I'm going to see how far I can go. And, whatever, I was all pumped. Right. I was like, let's just do this. So we started driving, and within about 10, 15 minutes outside of Wichita, it was basically zero visibility. It was just fog. It wasn't freezing. It was just like, I don't know, 40 degrees maybe, and, 35, 40 degrees, whatever. And it was night. And it's only 2 lanes on 54. And every once in a while, you get that extra lane if you need to pass somebody. Hey, John B., it's good to see you. Higher elevation, it snows out there. And yeah, it does, big time. Navajo Nation especially. It's really high elevation out there. I'm about to bounce out of here. Late night friend coming over, but I'm going to keep up on my PC for the... Oh, I appreciate that, Nat. Thank you. Thanks for coming by. So I was literally walking, driving, whatever you want to call it, on eggshells because we just want to get home. We had to work the next day. We had to go back to work. We needed to get home. And I drove for maybe 4 hours through that. And we got to the Oklahoma border, and the fog was pretty much gone, but the temperature was right around 32, 33 degrees, so right around freezing. And which is pretty unusual, even that time of year for that part of the country, Oklahoma, Texas, Panhandle area, but I guess it can happen. And so my cousin takes over driving, and I start to get comfortable to try to get a nap in. Next thing I know, we're in the median. He was doing 360s. I thought, dude, what are you doing? He goes, it's the wind. And then I'm like, the wind? There's no wind. There's no fog anymore. And I just closed my eyes and prayed. That's literally what I did. I was woken up out of being half asleep to 360s down the highway with semis and shit everywhere. I'm like, yeah. And we're getting, we were getting close. And if you went off the road, you'd be dead because it's not just a median where there's grass. There's plateaus and drops and cliffs and stuff, and I thought we were dead for a second. I thought we were upside down for a second, and we were in, it's a 2-lane. We just happened to be in the part where there was a 2-lane where you could pass somebody. Ended up in a median where there was still grass, and we weren't quite in the desert yet. And we didn't know what happened at first. We were just shocked, like, what the hell happened? And he was thinking wind. And we looked out, and literally, even the rocks by the railroad track, we found a place to pull into, which is kind of scary. We were kind of sandwiched between the highway and the railroad track. So if it was all black ice, everything was just slick. Even the rocks and the boulders, you could ice skate on just about anything. It was just a thin coat from that fog. It just froze. We got pretty scared because a lot of people were still hauling ass because we didn't know there was black ice. You couldn't see it. Right. That's what they call it, black ice. It's very hard to see. So we were like in this tiny little pull off on the road, and literally sandwiched back. We backed the car up near the railroad tracks, about 10, 15 feet away, be safe as possible. But we were also only 10 to 15 feet away from the highway. And we started thinking, what if that semi that's hauling ass right now, going 65 miles an hour, he doesn't know that he or she does not know there's black ice. And what if they lose control,
Mhm.
and we're here. And what if a train comes? And a train did come. So we laugh at it now because we got back on the road and he took over, my cousin took over driving. We went 10 miles an hour, if that.
Uh-huh.
It was we were taking it very, very careful. And this is right around 4:30 in the morning now. And I said, we got to get to that next town to pull into that gas station. We got to get somewhere safe. And maybe they have a hotel in this little town. I don't remember, but they may. You know what I'm thinking, just in case.
Mhm.
And we got to the next town, but it was the one backwards. He went 20 miles back. So
Oh, wow. That sucks.
you talk about throwing two adults throwing a fit. We're in the car
I
kicking the
bet.
tires, piece of shit. So we get back in, and we get back the other way. We stop again for about
Uh-huh.
10 minutes at that same spot and make sure we're going the right direction. We finally get to Delhart, Texas. No, not Delhart, the town before that. And there
Mhm.
was a gas station, a truck stop type gas station in a beat up old hotel. I'm like, okay, we're in this little town. It's daylight now. I said, we got a little something. Like, we don't really like gas station
Mhm.
food, but we went and got like whatever they had, like these burritos or some shit, taquitos and something. And we just had a little something to eat, and we just crashed in the car for about 2 hours, hoping that the sun would start heating it up and it
Uh-huh.
would thaw. We woke up to a disaster. It was all over the radio. The parking lot was completely full, and there
Mhm.
was just wrecks everywhere from all the way from southern Kansas all the way in right before you get to New Mexico. I mean,
Wow.
I heard it even over in Oklahoma City, just
Uh-huh.
everywhere. It was supposed to be the biggest disaster ever in this part of the country for black ice.
Uh-huh.
And we were asking, hey, Broken Fish, let me give you your mob. You're another. I keep on thinking I give everybody their mobs back that I want to have them back, and I forgot about Broken Fish.
Hi,
But
folks. How are you?
so we kept driving real slow, and we were it just air. Both sides were like trucks that were jackknifed and cars upside down, and just a lot of casualties, a lot of injuries, helicopters, life flighting people to hospitals all around the area, Oklahoma City to Amarillo, wherever. And we're like, gosh, man, we just need to get home. I want to get on I-40. I know that I-40 is going to be safe for the most part. And I know that once we get to the desert, there probably won't be black ice. And
Mhm.
sure enough, we got literally within about a mile or two into New Mexico. And there's still wrecks everywhere around us, right?
Right.
And we would and he would pull over, and I would literally open my door when he was going about like 2 or 3 miles an hour and just put my shoe out there. And if it was still ice, it's like you could ice skate.
Uh-huh.
And finally I put my foot out there and almost broke my leg because the pavement grabbed my leg because it finally attached as opposed to sliding. I was like, wait a minute. I was like,
Yeah.
don't slam the brakes even though we're going slow. Just slow down and stop. I think we're out of the black ice.
The black eyes, yeah.
And if I said dry ice earlier, I forget I meant black ice. But yeah, we got out and it was dry. And it just
That's good.
warmed up. It was just a little bit warmer. We were a little bit
Uh-huh.
more south. We're getting into the desert now. And so we finally, was able and the thing about it was my cousin was still scared to go over 20 or 30 miles an hour for a while getting to I-40 because we were, a lot of people were just shaking. You're
Uh-huh.
driving on eggshells.
I
I
bet.
was like, because you don't know if there's still patches,
Uh-huh.
somewhere.
Yeah.
So we took it easy for the first 30 miles, and finally, talking to people, we went to an Allsup's, which is a staple here in New Mexico. They have the best burritos and chimichangas and hot sauce and whatever.
Mhm.
And, Broken Fish at night too. And,
Hey, bro.
um, I say it right, broke fishing. Sorry, not broken
Broke
fish. Sorry
fishing.
about that. But we finally got to I-40, and yeah, we just hauled ass to Albuquerque. It's like another three
Mhm.
hours or something like that. And we got home that night, and of course, we were supposed to be home like early afternoon, somewhere in that area. We had to
Uh-huh.
work the next day, and we got home that night. and there was just no way we could do laundry, unpack the car, get any type of sleep, and then go to work. But we were still willing to do it. So what we did, I said, well, it can't. We talked for a little bit. I was like, you know what? Because we both work for the same company. I was like, let's just call them. We tell them what it's on the news. It's all over the news here. So we did. We called them and said we were caught up in that situation that you're seeing on the news, and we just got home. And they said, well, actually, we had you scheduled not to come back to work till Monday. I was like,
Oh
okay,
wow.
cool. So we had
Yeah.
the next day off, anyways. So
Yeah, but you guys went through the whole all that trauma for for being like, no, well, you don't have to work today or whatever.
exactly, yeah,
But no, that's good. At least you guys got the rest after that, you know. So that's
absolutely,
good.
absolutely. Yeah, he and my cousins grew up in Salinas. After my uncle got his degree, he actually went to school like 6 months or a year before my dad did.
Uh-huh.
So they moved to Boise, Idaho for his first high tech job, and they kind of liked it. And they don't have anything bad really to say, about Boise. There's just not a lot to do. It's
Yeah.
okay, uh, but he had a better job offer in Salinas,
Okay.
California. So they moved there, and that's about the time we moved to Dallas, Texas. So
That's like
yeah,
up north, right? North
yeah,
California. Yeah.
yeah, it's south of San Francisco. In fact, you just take the one or the 101, sorry,
The one.
or you can even take the five if you want to go through Gilbert, or is it Gilbert and Gilmore? I can't. There's two
I
names.
think it's up to 5, but like going past Saugus, California, going that way, right? Um.
Yeah, there was a place that was called Four Seasons where you go up to higher altitude. It's beautiful, but there's no
Mhm.
palm trees there. But it's very green. It's kind of like
Uh-huh.
it's not high desert, it's more high Greenland. And the town is called Four Seasons, I believe, California, which is about, I want to say, an hour away north of Bakersfield,
Okay,
somewhere
that's
around there.
like towards where Andy's at. Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
been in that direction. I've been like towards like what is it, Oxnard, up that way. The
Hmm.
furthest I've been out. But yeah, I'm still discovering new cities in California. I was like there's this California city now, and I'm like, when did that happen? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of places here in California. It's so big here.
Mm,
Yeah.
it's what the second largest state, because Alaska's I believe, well, Alaska's the biggest state, and either Texas or California is either two or three. I can't remember which one.
I think
But yeah,
Texas is bigger, if anything. But yeah, they
it's
say
pretty
Texas is
big.
one of the bigger
Yeah.
ones. Yeah. I mean,
Texas could literally be its own country
definitely right.
because you
I've
literally
been,
get almost all four seasons in that state.
yeah, yeah, of course. I have family in El Paso, Texas.
Oh, I'm
Um,
not too far from El Paso. I'm only a
yeah,
couple hours. That's New Mexico. Yeah.
yeah, and then I had it. Well, I still have family in Sunland Park, California.
Hmm.
I mean, not Sunland Park, New Mexico, Sunland Park, New Mexico, and Las Cruces and St. Anthony.
Yeah,
Um,
Anthony's right at the border of New Mexico and Texas and
right,
El Paso. Yep, yep.
yeah,
I You said Las Cruces.
Las
I
Cruces,
love
yeah,
I love it down there. Yep. I want to. In
it's
fact,
nice. Hmm.
yep. I want to move down there so bad. Ever since I had my first grandchild,
Hmm.
I just can't find myself moving somewhere, and then stuff I can't talk about online because it's nobody's business.
Right.
But I have elderly family that have some health issues and whatnot that I'm helping, and it's just a lot of stuff going on. But I'm really considering moving maybe in a
That's.
year,
Hmm.
maybe two, because I have my first granddaughter next month, and then I have
Hmm.
another grandchild. I don't know the due date yet, nor the gender, whether it's going to be a boy or girl yet for my youngest
Hmm.
daughter. Anthony is right off I-10. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I-25 turns into I-10, basically in Las Cruces or right outside of Las Cruces, one of those areas. It turns into I-10. Hey, Bill Evans, good to see you. Um, See, Texas was its own country for a while. Hey, Jeff, baby love, just subbed to your. Oh, cool. Thank you, Bill.
Thank
He
you,
just
Bill.
subbed to your channel, baby
Thanks,
love.
Bill. Thanks. Appreciate
Appreciate
it.
that, Bill. Yeah, Anthony, Texas used to be, in fact, between Las Cruces and El Paso, there used to be like an open desert space for about a half hour. It's about a half-hour drive.
Hmm.
And even the sign that said Chihuahua, Mexico, it was like 300 or 400
Like,
miles
yeah,
away.
right after,
It's
yeah.
it's not there anymore. And the palm tree farm they used to have in the middle of the freeway, I-10,
Okay.
it's gone now too.
I,
So
I haven't been there since I believe 2000 dude, it's been a while.
yeah.
Dude, 17, probably 16.
Hmm.
Um it's been a while, but yeah, we usually go to El Paso, and then because my mom's family's from Chihuahua, Juarez,
Yes.
Chihuahua. So I mean, we're always like in that little area. So yeah, I mean, I like it. It's not bad. It's not home,
Hmm.
but yeah, I don't mind going there.
I was gonna say if you're going to Chihuahua from California, uh,
Hmm.
that's quite a drive because Chihuahua is about, oh gosh, I had some friends from there too. I think they said like a 7 hour drive from Albuquerque or something like that. I don't know.
From
Maybe eight
California,
hours.
I believe it's 16 hours, 16,
It
17
makes
hours.
sense. It
Hmm.
makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, I would love, but basically now when you get to Las Cruces, it's basically almost like a suburb to El Paso now. You
Hmm.
know, it's basically almost all city. Anthony is now two parts. There's Anthony, New Mexico, Anthony, Texas,
Oh,
and
really?
yeah, there's like 3 or 4 truck stops. They have a bunch of new restaurants. They got new neighborhoods
Hmm.
there, developments, and it's basically all city now. So once you get to around Hatch, New Mexico, or a little bit southwest of Hatch, or wait,
Hmm.
southeast of Hatch, it's basically all city from
Hmm.
Las Cruces all the way through El Paso, or if you go to Mexico, which you don't want to go to Juarez
You
anymore.
don't want
It's too
no, you don't.
dangerous.
Yeah,
But it's basically all city now. But
yeah.
there's a lot of changes that happen, that's for sure.
Well, I
But
mean, it has to happen. They're good changes, because I remember back when I went. When I went the last time, St. Anthony's it wasn't very populated yet, you know.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, I hear it's grown, and that's pretty cool. That's always nice. I just
oh
don't like
yeah,
the weather there. The weather is kind of like I remember we went, like, it was probably October maybe.
hmm
It was hot and sticky, and then it was raining on top of it. I was like, oh
Mon-
my God, I can't stand that.
monsoon season in the desert. Yep, especially
Yeah.
when you're in that area. Um, it's a little different here. We're high desert, and yes, we get monsoon, but we can
Hmm.
get cooler or we can get hot too. But usually it leans more towards the cold side.
Hmm.
Um, but down there, because when I was with my son-in-law when we were doing team truck driving,
Hmm.
we I that's one of the favorite places. At least I think even his favorite was El Paso because in the wintertime it was just a couple hours south. And it could be like 50 degrees here in
Hmm.
January for a high, but it'd be 75 in El Paso or
Yeah.
Las Cruces. So
Yeah.
it was a lot nicer.
Yeah.
So
I
we
remember
liked
hearing
it.
my cousins would from El Paso, right? Be like, oh,
Mhm.
we're gonna go get wasted in Juarez and blah blah blah. I'm like, really, you guys like really go over there just to hang out and then come back home? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's too much. Not anymore, of course, but yeah, they used to all get ready and go to Juarez to the bars, I guess, in the clubs, the nightclubs in Juarez, and then come back
The
to El Paso.
college kids. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah, yeah.
the actual New Mexico State University is in Las Cruces, and then we have the University of New Mexico here.
Mm-hmm.
So the actual main, New Mexico State University, the Aggies, is down in Las Cruces. And then Olmecilla. Have you been to Olmecilla down there? Which this is it was part of Mexico until what 1940 whatever.
What is it?
Um,
Ocio?
yes, Macio. Yeah, you probably can
Yeah,
say
yeah.
it better than I can.
Yeah.
But because my ex-wife, she's Hispanic, my
Mhm.
son-in-law is Mexican American, and we have a lot of that in our family diversity. So he
Huh.
always corrects me, tries to correct me on my Spanish, if you will, my Espanol.
No, it's
But
good.
my at the time, my wife and my ex-wife now, we went down there and got to see the theater they used to run in the 20s, the picture theater. There's
Mhm.
just fast moving black and white music, no talking. We went and watched
Mhm.
one of those. And then where Billy the Kid was tried, convicted, and where he was jailed, we saw that.
Mhm.
That old church down there is beautiful. I have to dig out those pictures and put them up on my Instagram. It's just beautiful there.
Yeah.
Um, we had a good time. We really, really did. And it seemed like the people were a lot nicer there
Mhm.
in Las Cruces. In fact, it always reminded me of California, and like not California as far as how do I explain this?
Don't say
Not,
Anaheim, California.
yeah, not like the political part, but the
Right.
landscape. The
Okay.
landscape kind of reminded me more of California. You
Yeah.
know, it's just a little bit different. But
Right.
that's why they call New Mexico the land of enchantment. You know,
Yeah,
but
definitely. I mean, there's so much history, That's what it is. I think that's what makes everything interesting, just having like a background story to everything, that's
oh,
what fascinates
absolutely,
me when I go travel or whatever I do. It's like I like to see like old like buildings and try to pick up some history, because it's like fascinating to me, like all this strange and things the way
yeah,
people the way they used to live before, It's like
yes.
yeah, it's amazing, definitely.
Absolutely. See, John B says, yep, everyone in Cruces go to El Paso for everything. Yeah, I remember back in the day, I've been to Juarez, and I had to pay the
Hmm.
cop to come back to the United States.
Yeah.
I've said that story many times, but yeah, we wanted to get on, back then, we were young, obviously,
Hmm.
but we wanted to go across the bridge to Juarez back in the 90s.
Uh-huh.
And we were thinking we were on the right way. We kept following the sign in El Paso, and guess what? We drove right. And that was before you needed a passport. We just drove right into Mexico. Didn't even know we were there
Uh-huh.
until I said, "Wait a minute! Everything's in Spanish. Everything is in Spanish."
Wow.
And
Yeah.
there were just people sitting like everywhere, like just everywhere. And I'm like, it was right near the border, and I so we kind of pulled over thinking, well, maybe this is the parking lot we park in El Paso to walk across the bridge to Mexico.
Hmm.
No, we were already in Juarez, Mexico, and the cop came up with this knight with his baton, and he's
Uh-huh.
like, "What's in the box?" I go, "My new Nike shoes,"
Uh,
and he literally put the baton in the truck, and he lifted up the box, and sure enough, it was my brand new shoes,
uh,
and he goes, "What's your business in Mexico?" I was like, "Didn't know we were here
you
until
got
just."
lost, yeah.
Yeah, I said we were gonna walk the bridge, get a few souvenirs, and come back. That's just and shop a little bit, look around, and whatever. And he says, "No, you're already here." And I was like, "Can we go back?" He's like,
Uh,
"Ah." And he put his hand out. And my friend Dan, he's like, he wants money. I go, I don't have any cash on me but $5. All I have is my
uh-huh.
credit card and my debit card. I said, I showed him. I said, dinero, $5, all I got. And my friend didn't have
Uh-huh.
nothing. He goes,
Uh-huh.
he rolled his eyes and took it, and he literally stopped the traffic going north through the border.
Uh-huh.
He stopped it for us, and we literally drove over everything, the bricks, the bumps, and everything that they had there.
Uh-huh.
And then, of course, we had to wait in line in the car, and people were selling chiclets. They were washing our windows with newspapers, and we were giving out a couple
Yeah,
bucks,
at the border.
Yeah. And then what
Yeah.
was really funny is when we pull up to the border, and at the time, my friend Daniel, we were young, he had his long hair. We had Metallica jamming in the truck. We turned it down. We got to the border, and
Mm-hmm.
the lady came out, and she's like, how long have you guys been in Juarez, Mexico, or in Mexico? We're
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't know, half hour, an hour, something like
Uh-huh.
that. She's like, really? I'm like, I know. You can search whatever you want. We told her what happened, and she laughed, but she was also very serious.
Uh-huh.
And yes, she did get the dogs out. They searched the truck. They searched us, blah, blah, blah. And then she laughed again, apologized, and says, well, next time you're going to go to downtown El Paso. And she explained to us. I said, I don't think there's going to be a next time, to be honest with you. We're done. We're not going back.
Yeah. Well, at least
No,
it's not present day, getting lost in Juarez. It's like, oh, you don't want to do that at all, you know?
oh, I know. El
Yeah.
Paso is pretty similar too. You can get lost because it's almost like Atlanta, Georgia. It's like they I'm not saying it's in a mocking way of any way, shape, or form. It's just an expression that
Uh-huh.
that God threw down the highways, and they turned like it was like spaghetti,
Mm-hmm.
like, or mankind. What word you whatever. I'm a Christian, so I don't like really saying that, but it's just an
Mm-hmm.
expression. But it's like that. The streets don't make much sense. They really
Yeah.
don't.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So it's kind of hard to navigate around there.
Yeah. I think the streets in Juarez are kind of like I know when I go there I get lost, definitely. Like there's too many like little like for us it would be alleys, but they're like little streets, and they just take you everywhere, and it's like you have to really know the streets in that area, because you will end up somewhere else, definitely.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, another thing that I started to get pretty concerned about was when we got the concealed carry thing passed here in New Mexico in the early 2000s. Is every time we go down there, of course, if you're caught bringing even a bullet into
Hmm.
Mexico, you are donezo for the most part. You're going to the prison down there, you know.
Right. Really? It's
And
that
oh,
strict?
oh yeah, there was a military guy that had 2 or 3 rounds of ammo. Just and he accidentally in San Diego took the wrong exit, ended up in Tijuana, and I think one of the presidents or governors got him like after a year or something. Yeah,
Hmm.
just for it
Hmm.
didn't. I don't even think he had the actual. I can't even say it on here with the new TOS. But
Hmm.
you know what? The pew pews, the bang bangs. He
Yeah.
didn't have that on him. I don't think. I think it was just 2 or 3 rounds that were in the back of his truck, or
Hmm.
whatever vehicle he's driving. Yeah. So
Hmm.
it worries me because, but now supposedly you do have to have a passport to go in to
Hmm.
Mexico. Now I don't have a passport, but
Really?
no.
So just saying American citizen doesn't fly anymore? Because
Well,
that's how I used to do. I remember. I mean, I don't have a
yeah,
passport. I've never had a passport, but we would just go in and then come back and just be like, "Oh, American citizen," and just give our
yes.
IDs.
Well,
But
apparently they still do that in a lot of the
okay.
border crossing. But technically, you're supposed to have your passport. So, say you don't have one, but you go there anyways, and God forbid, something happens, whatever it may be.
Hmm.
Fill in the blank, whether it's bad or just maybe you get sick or after the hospital or whatever happens. Well, if you don't have your passport, apparently you can be stuck there for a while. You have to go to the
Hmm.
embassy and whatnot and show them your license, and they have to order a new passport or something. I don't know how that
Hmm.
works, but I've heard stories
Really?
about that. Yeah,
That
but
sucks.
most people
That's
come and
probably
go.
right here in California. They're pushing the real ID, so it's like I
Hmm.
guess it's similar to passport, but it's for flying, right? But I'm pretty sure
I've
it
heard
works
about
as a
that.
passport. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Like
a
by May, everybody's supposed to have a real ID. So I don't know.
isn't it it's like a universal or international type ID. I think is what it's kind of what it is, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. Yeah.
Something like that.
See, I remember hearing about that a few years ago, and as far as here in New Mexico, they were talking about it a lot,
Hmm.
and I don't know if every state's going to have to do that, or if it's just certain states like California right now. I don't know,
Hmm. I don't know.
but
I think maybe because we're closer to the border, probably because like we have a lot of travel in and out of Mexico.
yeah.
That's probably why. I don't know.
What's also strange too is I remember when we first moved here from Minneapolis,
Hmm.
and I was, gosh, I of course had a choice because I had my own place in Minneapolis. I worked for Laser Master at the time, and but I just was getting to a point where I was so sick and tired of dealing with the weather. Like it was
Hmm.
just cold. 90 below zero was the wind chill the day we moved here up in Minneapolis when we left. 90 below zero. That's how cold. And so my folks understood that. I think I was 19 or 20, somewhere in that area, and they're
Hmm.
like, "We're going to move to Albuquerque. You want to move with us?" And I'm like, "Actually, yes, I do." And I told my roommates, "I'm gonna try another adventure, if you will. My parents are moving again, and this may be the last time I have an opportunity to do this." And I did. So I
Hmm.
came down here and we left there. As I said, it was 90 below with the wind chill. The governor actually called a state of emergency of the
Hmm.
cold, the wind chill, and the snow and whatnot. And we got here a couple days later. It was sunny and 73 degrees.
Hmm. Oh no.
So me and my brother were like, we got our tank tops on, our shorts, and we're enjoying the sun. And people are looking at us weird. They're wearing jackets and not heavy jackets, but they're wearing jackets. Some of them are wearing hats and gloves because to them it's cold.
Yeah, yeah. It's way different. Like when I go okay, just coming from LA to the high desert, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
down there it's like it's very moderate weather, so like it's okay, coming up
Hmm.
here I'm always wearing like boots, or I have like gloves on or a beanie on, and it's like it's not even time for all that. When you're in LA, you're like casual, whatever, but up here it's like I'm always cold. Like I hate it. I used to like being cold. Now it's like, dude, this is too much cold. um
Yeah,
yeah, I can't get used to it as much as I try to, but no,
it's
it's
kind of
way too much.
like if you're in Big Bear and you either go there, like say in the wintertime for a day to go skiing or something, it's going to be
Mhm.
snowy, it's going to be chilly or cold up there. But
Yeah,
you
I'm
could
not
just
far
drive
from Big
down
Bear.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm not that far from there, but even from where I'm at now, to Big Bear, it's a way different. It's way different. I went unfortunately I was I had a friend come pick me up, right? I'm like, "Oh, just make a right, just go all the way right. We'll end up like towards Hesperia Lake or something like that, right?" So I don't know how we got lost, but we passed what was that city? I think Laverne, not Laverne, some city, I don't remember. But we passed Apple Valley and we passed all these other little cities, right? And
hmm,
ended up in Big Bear, and I was like, "Oh my God, it was like so cold, like
oh yeah.
chilling." I was like, "No, please just take me home." Like I can't. My back started hurting, my legs started hurting. I was like, "I need to get out of here. It's no good for me." I'm like, I'm getting old, definitely, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's way different.
yeah. The older we get, the more you start feeling the bones hurting, the arthritis kicking in.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm all brittle now. Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm telling you, it depends on the person, but I would say once you get to your late 30s or early 40s, I don't know, depends on the person. But
Hmm.
that for me, anyways, that's when I started noticing things. I was like, wow, yeah, I'm not young anymore. I'm not as sharp anymore.
You get up and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, yeah.
I get that. Yeah. Like, oh my
So
God. Hmm.
I used to, and people would probably not even recognize me from even just, see, I'm 47, maybe 5, 6 years ago. I loved to debate, especially when it comes to the Bible, because I had, I don't know, 65% of the New Testament memorized
Hmm.
and parts of the Old Testament. So I used to like to debate people. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just, it was just what I like to do. I
Would you
enjoyed
do
it.
it just to like upset them or like to get a reaction out of them?
Not really, except for the Colts. Yes, and I won't
Yeah.
say what I'm talking about because there might be people there that are in that religion and get offended. So I won't say what I'm talking about. The ones that knock on your door a lot, the ones that ride bicycles
Hmm.
a lot, those
Hmm.
two. We would, oh, we love to debate them because we would win every time with God's help. Of course, we wasn't trying to like puff ourselves up, but it's just we knew Scripture and we knew what it meant. They
Hmm.
didn't. It's whatever magazine they got that month is what they learned, and it was whatever was taught to them. So that was kind of fun at times. But I used to
You mean
love debate. Go
my
ahead.
dad does that. My dad does that with with Jehovah's Witnesses. But he had a friend, and it was interesting to me their relationship. And this is like I remember being maybe 5 years old,
Hmm.
and that man going to our house, right? And my dad would like every Sunday morning they would have like a 2-3 hour discussion about religion. And
Hmm.
up to maybe a couple years ago, I think the man probably passed away because he was a little bit older, right?
Yeah.
Up to that point, my dad had that relationship with every Sunday morning. They would have like a 2-3 hour conversation about religion, and it's like, why? What do you guys talk about? It's like, oh, he's trying to convert me, and I'm like, but like this is like ongoing, and it's been years. I mean, like over 2 decades of them having that relationship, which is always really peaceful. And it,
Hmm.
it was it was a nice thing to see, and it's like I got used to him, and it's like, oh hi, good morning, and it's like but yeah,
Yeah.
I like different I guess viewpoints in religion.
Hmm.
um I'm willing to hear everything. I grew up in going to Catholic school, so
Okay.
as Catholic, so um I do I always tell people like I have a great belief in God, like I do. It's just not the
Yeah.
way it's set out, like and I'm not trying to be like, oh, your religion is like nothing like that. It's just like
Yeah.
there's so many interesting like I get controversies, I guess.
Hmm.
which was like, okay, I believe this, but I don't believe that would happen, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but overall, like I do believe there's a greater being, of course, you know. Otherwise, like,
Yeah.
why are we here? You know, what's the difference? But
Hmm.
yeah, I like
Absolutely.
I say I have like I've had a lot of close calls, and then my children have had a lot of close calls as well. And it's
Yeah.
like it wouldn't like it'd be so much different if there was nothing to have faith about, you know. Um, yeah, I just remember like in those occasions just praying and just having that strong belief of you know having
Hmm.
that I guess that how can I say it?
The Holy Spirit conviction.
Yes,
Yep.
definitely, you know. And it's such
Yeah.
a great feeling.
Yep.
It is such a great feeling. It's I can't even explain it, but yeah, it was at that moment in time I was like I was so grateful, you know, and I've never
Yeah.
been more grateful than anything. Yeah.
And in all honesty, the most spiritual I've ever been was the time that when my wife and I were still married at the time, ex-wife
Mhm.
now, but we're still good friends. But anyways, the kids growing up, we were going to church. I got ordained. I got licensed. Just all this stuff was going on. I ended up becoming an assistant pastor, and then I became a missionary pastor in the Navajo Nation for 5, almost 6 years.
Mhm.
And we were very, very like literally spiritual. Like I before then, my life was filled with, even though I was a Christian, I got away
Mhm.
from God a lot. Now I was being convicted a lot by the Holy Spirit, like you shouldn't be doing this or you can't be doing
Mhm.
that. But I was so, and I wasn't like there was people that were way worse than I was, trust me. But I'd go out and paint the town red. I just didn't really, I had boundaries, but you know what I mean? I mean, it was just a lot of just painting the town red,
Mhm.
getting drunk or whatever, and getting in fights and this and that and the third, and
Right.
and of course later on, you grow out of that, and then most people, not everybody, and that, at the time, my wife and I we were asked to drive out 110 miles every Sunday to fill in for a
Mhm.
little church in the Navajo Nation. That's literally all it was. Is we were going out, and I was doing my studies. I'd already been an assistant pastor for almost a year at another church that closed down, and I had some experience in preaching a little bit. I'm still learning, but it was a good way for me to learn more because at the time we thought we were going to go to South America and become
Mhm.
missionaries with this family that was down there we had met like prior, and
Mhm.
that's in Chile. That's where we were going to go. We were going to go there to
Mhm.
live and help them establish churches in Chile. And
Okay.
so we were, that's what we thought our calling was. And then after about 2 or 3 months, I'm just guesstimating here, of going out to the
Mhm.
reservation and preaching at those two different churches, the one that needed a pastor, well, it was kind of weird because the kids fell asleep in the back of the car almost every time driving back. It was nighttime and they had school the next day, what have you. They were younger then, obviously.
Mhm.
And my wife and I just at the time looked at each other with tears in our eyes and we're like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? He's like, yeah, we were called here. And sure
Mhm.
enough, we ended up eventually moving out there, and it was a great time in our life before a couple years prior to about 0809 because my our son passed away in 2010.
Oh, I'm
And
sorry.
that, yeah, that's kind of that was kind of that was the the thing that really, I just had to tell the church, if I can't be spiritual
Mhm.
myself or towards my family as a husband and a father, how can I be the head of a church? And I
Right.
said, but until then, and I literally told the congregation, and I'm not bragging because God did all the work. We were just vessels, but that church only had, oh, I don't know, maybe 7 or 10 people, just a small little church in the middle of the desert, in Navajo Nation. We
Uh-huh.
grew up from 7 to 137 members the time we were out there.
Wow.
So it was a pretty well established church. And in fact, to this day, I think my name is still on the sign. But
Hmm.
um, yeah, when our son passed, it really affected us. People
I
that's
bet.
never had that happen to him might not understand, but he was supposed to graduate that year, and he died. And
I'm sorry.
yeah, so I was on the hunt. for another replacement, and it took finding somebody in Oahu, Hawaii,
Mhm.
and him and his wife, and they had one child that was still living at home. Something going on
Mhm.
next door? Oh no!
Mhm.
And finally, he flew from Oahu to LA, I believe, and LA to Denver. That's where our
Mhm.
missions board was Broomfield, Colorado. Was Dr. Tommy Moore, and he was already at that time like 80 something years old, and he didn't eat regular food. He literally ate nothing but carrot juice, fresh veggies, fresh fruits and nuts and stuff like that. He ate healthy,
Uh-huh.
and I think he's even still alive to this day. I'd be shocked if he is, but I wouldn't be super shocked because he was just a healthy guy. He was very spiritual, and he would get $1 million. He
Uh-huh.
was in the oil business,
Oh,
so
okay.
if he got like $1 million within 6 months, he literally invested almost all of it, if not all of it, to other churches he would create or build, I should
Mhm.
say, across the world. He had churches in India,
Uh-huh.
in Mexico and South America, all over the world. He had these little churches, Navajo Nation, of course, So
Uh-huh.
he was basically above us, in a sense.
Right.
Um, Even though it was our place and everything, we had 159 acres of land. I always looked up to him.
Mhm.
And but there are some people, and that's when we figured out that it was the independent Baptist church, not all of them. No, I'm going to say that very carefully, but the
Uh-huh.
ones we were involved with became almost like cultic, you know, at like, oh, how dare your wife wear a pair of jeans as opposed to a dress? Or why are your kids wearing shorts in the summertime? They should be wearing dresses and skirts.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was getting bad. We're like, okay, we're done. We're done.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. That's
with this
just going too
chapter.
far. Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. We're done with this chapter. And we moved June 7th, I believe it was, in 2011. And we moved
Mhm.
right back. And thankfully, the same duplex we lived in before was available. So we
Right.
literally moved right back to the place we lived before we moved out there.
Right.
But that's when things kind of, I'd say a year later is when it started to go downhill for us, about
Mm.
a year later, because our
Yeah.
savings was getting depleted. The whole recession thing was going on still. Jobs were very hard to come by. If
Mhm.
you got a job, you're lucky if you got 28 hours a week because anything above that was considered full time under Obamacare. Just the whole thing, everything was just different.
Right.
And we had, we always had money in our safe and
Mhm.
in the bank too. And I invested a lot. We invested a lot in precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, bullion,
Yeah.
coins and bars. So we had easily 20,000 cash in our safe. We had probably about 20,000 in silver, gold, platinum, and maybe a few thousand in the bank. We just didn't put a lot
Mhm.
in the bank. And I said, you know what we're going to do? And we all agreed. I said, I'm
Mhm.
going to take 90 days. I'm going to take 90 days and do absolutely nothing except spend time with my family
That's
and,
great.
and, and readjust to our new life because our son passed away. We're back
Mhm.
home in the city. It's a whole nother world again. And it is, it's a culture shock. It really
Yeah.
is.
Oh yeah, I bet.
And so after 90 days, I said, you know what? I'm going to take another 90 days. And I did. So
Yeah.
6 months, and we still got pretty good amount of money. We paid for our rent for an entire year,
Mhm.
almost all of it, all but a couple months. We just paid up front. The guy, I'm still friends with the owner.
Mhm.
He's a pretty good landlord, and then things just started happening. My resume was too large. People would say it was too much was on there,
You're
and
overqualified.
yes,
Yes.
overqualified was the word. So I
Yeah.
went to my pastor, who's now the mayor of my
Mhm.
city. He's still the mayor of my city. I went to him for advice. He was a businessman. He said, okay, we're going to have to trim the fat. And I was like, well, I don't want to trim too much because I got a pretty darn good resume. I was in law enforcement. I'm an
Uh-huh.
ordained licensed minister. I got this. I did that. I worked at Laser Master. I had a pretty good resume. I was a manager at a restaurant for years.
Uh-huh.
I was proud of myself for my accomplishments. He's
Of
like, you
course.
got. He said, it's a different world now. You got to trim the fat. So I did, And after
Mhm.
300 or 400 applications, it basically took my friend's mother, who worked at the HR department, to
Mhm.
get my cousin at the time, my cousin and I, a job. And we finally got back in the workforce again. It took getting, you had to know somebody that knows somebody almost, it was that bad.
Yes. Damn, that
So
sucks.
everything was just kind of shitty. It really
The,
was. And,
yeah.
you know,
But I mean, everything like for whatever reason it works out. Like everything falls into place at the precise time. You know,
oh,
um,
yeah.
for whatever reason, I don't know why things work that way. It's like the saying when it rains it pours.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then after that, yeah, like the light comes through, and it's like, yeah, I've been there, and it sucks, but I think that's what makes us stronger as people. Being able to go through those transgressions for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
But here's some things that happened that really, my ex-wife and I know, we talk about it.
Uh-huh.
She's remarried now and everything.
Hmm.
Um, we talk about it all the time. We go back and we think about what exactly, because we were the last married couple that
Hmm.
that we were the last couple that anybody would ever think would get a divorce. And we thought the same thing.
Right.
We didn't believe in divorce. It's again, it's not necessarily against the Bible. It just depends on what reasons. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
for the most part, we were against divorce. Everything. It's just something we never thought about. We were together for about 20 years
Hmm.
and total. Married 18, together 20,
Hmm.
and it just started. I said a few times. Mostly out of curiosity, what her response was going to be.
Uh-huh.
Like I said, what do you think about getting divorced and whatever? Just because we were, my sister-in-law got murdered. That's what I was going to say. Um,
Oh, man.
and then who was going to be my brother-in-law, which is
Hmm.
the father of two children, which I got to meet my niece for the first time over the holidays at my ex father-in-law's memorial service. Well,
Uh-huh.
it's on my Instagram, but yeah. And she wants to tell her story on this channel, but she's not quite 18 yet. So I think I have to wait till she turns 18. But I got to meet my niece,
Uh-huh.
uh,
That's
and
good.
I
That's great.
cried.
Yeah,
Oh
for
yeah,
sure.
I held it in, and I walked out to the foyer, and I sat
Hmm.
down and put my hat like I was tired, and I literally just bawled. And my ex-wife, she noticed, and so
Uh-huh.
did my niece. Not only did she notice, she knew exactly why I was crying, because I had
Yeah.
just met her for the first time, and I saw her mama. I saw Rose.
Yeah.
I saw my sister-in-law, and I didn't want to cry in front of her. So but she came up and she understood. And
Yeah.
her, she gave me a big old hug, and my ex-wife gave me a hug, and just everybody's being very,
Hmm.
very compassionate.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about things, and I was showing her pictures from my phone of her little brother who's across the country.
Hmm.
It's crazy how life happens.
Right.
But see, their dad, he also was murdered a year after my sister-in-law.
Wow.
So
Man, I'm sorry to hear all that. Yeah.
if you remember watching America's Most Wanted when they had the West Mesa thing, it was international news. It was
Hmm.
on everywhere. It was called the West Mesa. They found I don't know how many buried bodies. It's literally like 3 miles from where I live. It's not that. I
Hmm.
can see it from my house.
Wow.
And Rose would always tell us that when they were discovering who the victims were, the women
Uh-huh.
were, and they would put their whatever last picture they had up on the television, whether it been a high school graduation picture or a college picture or whatever, just
Uh-huh.
whatever. Rosen says, "I know who that person. I know who that person. I know that person." And
Wow.
that's the thing is something I'm not going to say, but something happened to her when she was young, and
Uh-huh.
because of that, and she was so smart, beautiful. She was kind of a local celebrity in the fiestas,
Uh-huh.
and I think she was 15 or 16 when her cousin introduced her to crack cocaine,
Mm.
and it went from that to eventually methamphetamines, and she got clean several times.
Uh-huh.
And that's she would get pregnant, she'd be clean, she
Uh-huh.
would take care of the child
for a certain period of time, and then she would get back on.
All
It
back
was just
on.
a. Mhm.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of that, but she did get saved. She became a Christian
Uh-huh.
a week after. This is going. I'm going back now to 1998, I believe. 98 or 99 is when my ex-wife now, but when she finally went to the altar and got saved, she received Christ into her heart. You know, she trusted in Jesus as her Savior. And then a
Right.
week later, we got my sister-in-law to come in, and she was still actively using crack cocaine at that time. And
Uh-huh.
it just so happened that our pastor at the time was preaching about drugs, mainly the
Mm-hmm.
problem with crack cocaine. She
Right.
looked at us and she goes, "Did you tell him?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Why would we tell him?" They didn't know. We did not tell him. You're, hey, baby Wendy, baby girl Wendy. Sorry, hey Wendy, how's it going? Good to have you here. Appreciate it. Baby
Mhm.
loves Wendy, baby girl
Hi,
Wendy.
baby girl Wendy.
She's awesome. She always comes in. She'll put first one in, last one out.
Uh-huh.
Yee. I
That's good.
think she's
That's
from.
what I'm talking about. Your supporters. That's awesome. That's great.
I think she's from Cali. I could be wrong, but yeah, I met her through Vegas Valley Community Watch Group, through Joe and all them. Really good person.
Okay.
Good to
Oh,
have
cool.
you. But
Th-
so
That that's what's strange. Like sometimes it's like think that like I'm telling you things happen for a certain reason. Like you're at a certain location or you go somewhere and it's something. It's like a calling.
yeah,
It's no coincidence she was there for that sermon at all.
yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah,
Well,
that's
it's good too because yeah, I'm just saying this because it's just the truth. I'm in New Mexico and I'm white, obviously. I'm kind of the minority here, to be honest with you. So
awesome.
there's a lot more Hispanics and Pueblos here, Native Americans and
Okay.
whatnot. A lot of Hispanics. So, um, they were talking, my wife at the time and her were talking in Spanish back and
Uh-huh.
forth. And I started to see a tear in their eyes. And then
Yeah.
it went to English. Well, one of the workers was our friend. I'll just give the first
Mhm.
name Delilah, and
Mhm.
she's also Hispanic. And
Mhm.
we were good friends with. We used to go over there and have game night. Her husband and I worked at the same prison at the time. It was just a lot of stuff going on,
Mhm.
and so she says, "I need whatever you got." I almost said my ex-wife's first name, and I want to do that, but she told her, "Whatever you have, I want it."
Mhm.
So Delilah came up and they went forward and for about 20 minutes and she was praying and she finally believed in God. She received Christ and so she got born again, as they say.
Mhm.
And she was doing really, really good after that. She went to a rehab. She got clean. Things just were going great. And
That's
then, you know, things happened. We decided to move back up north to give that a try at the sheriff's department. I waited 3 years up there. I didn't want to wait any longer, so we moved
mhm.
back to Albuquerque. Got right back into corrections, and then I got the call like 2 weeks after we moved back. It's like, the waiting's over. You're hired at the sheriff's department here, and I was like, you realize I'm back in New Mexico, right?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that's basically what happened. I said, I'm sorry, but I'm actually getting back into law enforcement now. I'm just starting out in the detention center as a corrections officer.
Mhm.
3 months, 3 months, and then I broke my knee on the
Oh
line of
shoot.
duty. So
Mm.
that was it. That ended
Yeah.
my career as trying to get into law enforcement, which
Yeah.
I found out there's a lot of corruption going on.
Oh well, that's another issue. Like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh, yeah.
yeah,
We'll touch on that some other time.
yeah.
The whole justice system is it's one of them subjects
Hmm.
that it's like, oh, I could talk for days.
Yeah. But I
Mhm.
will say this: when I sued them and won the
Mhm.
county,
Mhm.
uh, all them the corrupt ones were gone. They left. They either got
Wow.
fired, or they resigned because they were in a lot. Some of them got in trouble because a lot of things were exposed during that situation, and they
Mhm.
didn't like me, because I just was I needed the money that they owed me to pay for my hospital situation, my knee, and my like workman's comp and all that stuff. That's why I
Mhm.
won. And well, that's a long time ago. Now they literally work with us when we go out catching. So
Right.
it's all in the past. But it's just something that we went another hurdle that we had to get through.
Right. Yeah.
But there's just so much stuff. I could go on and on, but yeah,
It's
it's
always something,
crazy.
right, Jeff? Yeah, it's
It
always
seems like
something.
it. Yeah, but you're
Yeah.
right. Everything happens for a reason. We don't always know what it is, or we don't know what it is right away. But if I would say, at least for those of us that are believers, there may
Mhm.
be some that are not believers have the same experience. I'm just saying, as believers, we always say, God has a plan for everything. He has a
Right.
purpose for us. We just don't always know what it is until it happens, and it may not always be good either.
Eh,
Um,
but I think everything's a lesson, no matter like you say, if it's good or bad. It's like it
yeah,
teaches us how to get through the situation.
yep,
And and teaches us not to repeat the same mistakes. Unfortunately, for some people, they don't learn the first time. I know I'm one of them, but
yeah.
yeah.
Well, Romans 8:28 in the Bible says, "All things work together for good for them that love God and are called according to His purpose." That's where we get the expression that all things work together. It all works out in the end. It may not be
Uh-huh.
the way we planned or wanted, but it's
Exactly.
God. Yeah, if you're a believer, it's God's plan. It's not our plan.
Yeah.
But you're right. And sometimes
It's
going
sometimes
through,
it's the getting there that at times that like it throws me off.
mhm,
Sometimes it's like why do I have to go through this? And
right?
I was on somebody's panel, I think a couple days ago, and they're like, some people are meant to suffer, and then some people are not. And it's like I don't want to believe that. Like honestly, if that was the whole like the belief behind it, it's like what would
Hi, Gary. Gary's a police officer. He's a buddy of mine,
Gary?
too. He has a good channel. Check it. You can drop your link, Gary. We're just
Yeah,
shooting the breeze talking about, go ahead. talking
yeah.
about religion now, which we're talking about law enforcement. I was in law enforcement. Now we're talking about religion.
Well, it all fits in, right? Like everything goes together. Like if people are meant to suffer, like what aspirations do I have for tomorrow? Like why would I
Yeah.
want to keep living and suffering? And so it's like I have to like always put that behind my like put it way 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 behind and you know
Put your trust
my
in
brain.
God.
Yeah, and it's like I know there has to be better tomorrows, because I know my yesterdays weren't as bright as they are today, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like it's always something like you just have to keep holding on and moving forward, pushing forward, definitely.
Yeah. We call it trials and tribulation. Well, the Bible calls it trials
Yeah,
and, and
tribulations, correct,
tribulations.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's something we have to go through in life, unfortunately. But I don't know if the word unfortunately is even the right word because it's all God's plan.
Hmm.
We just
Yeah.
have to accept it. And sometimes, as you know, because we're sinners saved by grace, those of us that are, believers or whatever, we're sinners, but we're forgiven. We always say, well, I'm not perfect, but I'm forgiven. I got Christ, on my side. But the Holy Spirit always tells us, you shouldn't be doing that. And do we always listen? No, you
Oh, of
know.
course not. Hmm.
And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. So sometimes I don't know what the right word is. I don't want to say messed up God's plan because we can't because God's perfect. Not. He
Hmm.
already knew what was going to happen to us before we were born.
Right, right.
um, so, but we can change the destiny of ourselves a bit, I suppose, by certain things that we do, whether it's bad or good.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I think that also, if we fight what the Holy Spirit is trying to teach us, what God's trying to show us,
Hmm.
obviously it's not going to turn out good for us,
Oh yeah, I mean
because
that's why we're granted free will, to
mhm,
do and learn from what we think is best or not best for us.
yes, God doesn't make anybody do anything. It's free will,
Hmm.
and nobody has to believe in God Almighty or Christ Jesus. Some people choose to believe in Buddha or I don't Hinduism. There's all kinds of other religions. Muslim. Some people are what do you call it? Agnostic. Some
Hmm.
are atheists. Everybody has a free will to choose what they want to do,
Right.
and so yeah, you're absolutely right. And one thing I used to do, and it wasn't out of wanting to debate or wanting to prove a point. It was literally when I was very, really spiritual, my wife and I at the time, our souls, even my kids, we would go soul winning. We'd go door to door and hand out these little gospel tracts inviting people to church. And it had like some verses in it, And we would do that. And because we just didn't want anybody to go to hell. We wanted everybody to know God. So everybody has an opportunity, you know, and it's their choice whether they want to accept him or not. You know, everybody has free will. So, hey, boxing progress. But yeah, we were doing that for a while. And then, like I said, after our son passed away, our spirituality just kind of did what it did. And
Mm-hmm.
still trying to recover, to be honest with you. I'm a lot better off than I was a few years ago. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Uh, I
It
think,
must be hard. It must be really hard. I've had my two older sons. They were and I'm telling you, it's the streets out here, the environment where I live. You know,
yeah.
um, like that whole gang warfare, whatever it is, just being out in the streets. You know, so
Hmm.
my oldest, he got shot when he was 17, turning 18, and I honestly thought he was done. He was done. He was gone. You know, um, and that's when I had that moment with God where it's like Lord, like don't let this happen, you know, and it's like that connection that I had, and I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating. It was so intense, you know,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
that's how I know that God believe. I mean, God's for reals, you know, like
Oh,
or
yeah.
you know, it's that feeling I remember just having, like I felt so much ease and like I wasn't scared because I knew that that was
Yeah.
happening, you know.
Absolutely.
And yeah, and then the same thing with my 16-year-old walking down the street again, same, well, not the same situation, but you know, he had exchange of words with somebody and he gets shot too. My God, I remember and he was just literally around the corner, you know, running towards him, and it's like running towards him, and it seemed like I was never gonna reach him, you know, and it's just like I remember praying, and as soon as I said, God, please don't let this happen, like help me, you know,
Hmm.
there he is, my son's on laying on the floor, and it was nothing big, but it's just like um uh, those moments are the reason why I believe, you know, and why
Yeah.
I stay strong on that, you know, and it's like nobody's gonna
Hmm.
change my mind differently. Like it's not gonna happen. You know, I get down on my older son because he's been through, like my son's been through a lot of stuff, you know, and he's like he sometimes he's upset and he gets mad. He's like, "What God?" And it's like, "How dare you say that?" You know, like if it
Yeah.
wasn't for that, it's like you wouldn't be here. And trust me, and I know this because I when that happened to you, like I prayed and you know I would have done anything for you to be alive, you know, and you're here, you know. So let's
Hmm.
be a little bit more appreciative about you being here, you know. And it's like there's a reason for everything. Everything happening is for a reason, and you need to accept God in your life, you know, and pray that
Yeah.
He makes your life better and go. Because once you start turning your back against Him, guess what? Everything's gonna start like it's gonna be chaotic for you, you know.
Yes. Exactly.
So you know,
It's
I'm working on Him. Yeah, definitely.
belt loop. Yeah, it was an epiphany. That's another good word to use as well. Epiphany.
Mm,
You were
thank
talking.
you.
We see another thing too is my ex-wife. I still call my brother-in-laws. They're my brothers, and
Yeah, of course.
they would tell me stories when they were younger and they were walking through like the Vadio,
Hmm.
and where they literally felt the presence of some. They literally it just happened like they were doing the wrong things. They were drunk or they
Hmm.
were hot, whatever they were doing, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But there was a truck that was going to hit all of them, and they
Right.
literally were picked up and brought over to the sidewalk like God picked them up and moved them over, and that was an epiphany. That was like
Yeah.
whoa, you know, like what was that, you know, and that set the stage later on for two of them now that are Christians now. Some of them are Catholics, some are Baptists or something else, but they're Christians. I don't really look at it from the denomination wise. I look at it, you know, if they're a Christian or not. They believe in God, you know, have they accepted Christ? It doesn't matter if you're a Catholic, a Baptist, a Presbyterian, or whatever. It doesn't, or none of them. You know, you could be not involved in any denomination, but you can still be a Christian, if you will, like the Bible says. You know, like a lot of my my ex-wife's uh, some of them will say, I'm not Christian, I'm Catholic. And my ex-wife, of course, grew up as a Catholic too, and I've been to Catholic church as well, mass, you know, and everything. But she would say there's no difference. If you believe in the death, the burial, the resurrection of Jesus Christ, we lost you, baby love. Hey, Kenny. Keep up the great podcast. Oh, thanks, Kenny. Yeah, we're just having a little chat. We lost Baby Lover on her stream. We're doing it's the second time we're trying the share panel option on StreamYard. But I lost my train of thought now. I'll wait for her to come back up. If the stream ends, I apologize. There's nothing I can do about it. Because I'm on her stream and just sharing the stream. Hold on. Look at the private chat. Okay, she'll be right back. But anywho, yeah, it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of things in life that we don't always understand it right then and there, but later on, usually we like, oh, okay, I get it now. I look back, and there's things that happen that we get so upset about, like people in general, and then later on we'll look back and laugh at it. It was a lesson learned. But very, very interesting. I'll wait for Baby Love to come up here. How you doing, Kenny? I promised you I would give yours back too, so I might as well while I have the chance. Yeah, we're just shooting the breeze. We were talking about catching at first a little bit, and then we got into the subject of religion a bit, and or some of the things we did in the past and whatnot. And yeah, it's kind of where we're at right now. A how-to video. Yeah, see, Belt Loop just said, I just added a video today on co-streaming, a how-to video. Oh, okay. I'll have to check that out. Is it still up? I would assume it is. Because there are some channels, and I know that people can select the option or not. I just don't know how to yet. I know I saw it one time, but I wasn't for sure what it was. But you can turn it off or turn it on. So if somebody doesn't want their panel stream shared to somebody else's channel, I guess there's an option where they can turn that off somehow. I just don't know how. Do you talk about that in your video, Gary? Because if you do, I definitely want to check that out, because I don't know if mine is off or on, but I think the next one that Baby Love and I will do will be from my channel. Then she can share out that to her channel. We're going to try it the opposite way next time. But I notice a lot of people doesn't have that option, that little blue box in the top. You're back.
I'm back. Sorry, I don't know what happened. It just got disconnected out of nowhere, and I was like, "What's going on here?" It was so weird.
Oh, I was in the YouTube tab. I'm sorry, there's a delay. So now I heard you. I was like, wait, I hear her, but I don't see your avatar. Now I went back to StreamYard.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
But
know.
yeah, Gary, Beltloop 29, he just did a video today on how to do what we're doing, how to share streams, how to turn it off, turn it on. So, Gary, if you can drop your link, that'd be great. That way people want to look at that video. Check. He's a good guy, by the way. Guys, check out Beltloop 29. He streams a lot. He's a hard worker, good guy. He knows a lot of stuff, and he's down to earth. Yeah, check him out. Check out his video. 2 videos.
Yeah, I will for sure.
Can you drop those? I think it will go in your stream too, won't it?
Yeah, it should be able to.
All right. If not, I can always send it to you as well. But definitely check out Beltloop 29. Very, very good person.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Because I want to learn myself. Like because I was just saying, I don't know if you heard me or not, but next time we do this, we'll try it. I want to try it from my end, where I'll start the stream, and then you can come over and try to share from there and see how that works. Sometime if you want to.
Yeah, definitely.
So that'd be pretty cool.
Of course.
He got 2 videos on co-streaming, so he explains it all. I guess he dropped them today. Cool.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna take a look at it, because I'm like I said, I'm still learning how to do all of this. So the more information I get, the better for me,
Actually, what I can do is I can go to his channel. I can drop his link for him, and then you just go to his channel and find the videos he did on the co-streaming.
Okay, for sure.
I'm a member on his channel too, so he's
co-streaming.
Oh, he's got over 2,000 subs now. Wow, he's
Wow.
moving right up. He's
Hmm.
he knows what he's doing. That's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Bye,
Y'all check
Roxy.
out Belt Loop 29. Good dude.
Hey, I'm gonna end the stream, Jeff, because I don't know why I have to tug on my microphone for it to work. So I'm gonna see what's going on with it. Um,
Okay.
but
Hey,
yeah,
turned out good.
yeah, it was great. Thank you so much for allowing me to have you on my show. And
Thank you.
yeah, we'll do one on your show next time.
Sounds good. Sounds like a
Perfect.
plan. Hey, we
Yes.
went over 2 hours. Last time it was only 8 minutes.
That's true. That's so cool. All right, Jeff. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, and everybody, thank you so much for being
Thank you,
here.
everybody. Thank you, Belt Loop. Thank you, everybody that watches this later, I guess, too, and those that are still here watching, lurking, whatever. You guys have a
Mhm.
good night. Thank
Yes,
you, baby
definitely.
love. We'll
Thank
be
you,
in
Jeff.
touch. All right.
No, for sure.
Bye
Good
bye.
night.
Have a good night.
Bye.